point of this is wrong. After we've already gone over and over it because we were. I had to repeat myself a lot of times because
Mhm.
didn't seem to stick anything I said. To a point where after I said all that, he was like, "Yeah, but it doesn't work," and that's that. So it's like, okay, what? I
Yeah, it
don't
just doesn't
care,
work.
and we just moved on because I was so annoyed. That was
That's rough.
it was an
That's
interesting debate.
We have more faith that you, if we are able to prove a point, will
Mhm.
concede.
I'm definitely a guy that's really open to getting his mind changed. So yeah, I'm definitely
Sounds
that
good.
kind of
Well,
guy.
I know you've been pretty vehemently against my TASM 2 take since the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, ever since I think they covered your video on EFAP. Um I was just like, yeah,
The
I never
Tross
heard.
one?
No, it was the TASM one. It was you and Marcus last year.
Oh yeah,
Oh
the
yeah,
debate.
the debate we had,
Mhm.
yeah.
So yeah, it wasn't a good debate, but
Mhm.
we do have counters since so,
Okay.
and that's
Yeah,
what we've
we
been
did come up with counter scenes. I
I'm
think the
excited.
comment that Muller hearted in that video that I commented on does say that we did come up with counter since then.
right. And in fact, we did say we were open to another debate with them, but
Right.
they
Yeah,
declined.
they just said that they didn't want to because they didn't want to
Yeah, they
think about
just
the film anymore, which
yeah, they didn't care
it's
about it,
fair
right?
to be honest. If you really
Yeah.
hate a film, I
If
don't.
you're just
Yeah,
over it, but
yeah.
yeah,
All right, it looks like I got stream going. So,
very cool.
awesome. Yeah, we'll just go from the start. Let me bring up my notes here. See, it's kind of weird because as I was watching, so I watched the first one a little while ago, about a week or two ago, and
Mm.
then I watched the second one last night, and then the night before I kind of watched a little bit of it. And essentially I watched it like twice in the past 48 hours, but
Okay.
rewatching the first one today, I figured out there's like a lot of stuff that the second one does that kind of damages the first one, so it's kind of like
Interesting.
I feel like I might have to go back and forth. So
No worries.
we'll just see how it goes as we go on. So um all right,
So
so
hold on. Before we hop into everything,
sure.
I want to get like a number rating from you.
Number rating. Okay.
So let's just go out of 10.
For the first one, I'm gonna have to say, oh man, probably like I'm trying to balance like the good stuff and the bad stuff, and I feel like
Typically what you do.
typically what do you do? I feel like there's more bad stuff in it than there are good stuff, and the good stuff is kind of like okay stuff. So I'm gonna go with like a 4. I think 4 out of 10.
Okay.
Below
And
average.
Marcus, you'd
Yeah.
say that you and I are both at like an 8?
For the first one,
Yeah.
7 or 8 around that.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This should be exciting. um. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just go from the beginning. So
And
the
then
very
wait, really
sorry.
quick.
Go ahead.
What was your number rating for number 2?
Number 2. Oh, that's way worse. That's probably like a 2, maybe a 1. It's not that broken. I'd say to be safe, I'd say it's a 2, maybe a 3.
Okay.
Because
I am
it
personally of the opinion that it's a 9.
really
Same.
okay. Because
Yeah,
it
9 or
does
10.
the good stuff is better than and the second one is better than the good stuff than the first one. I feel like there's like somewhat of a theme that I noticed
That's
through it.
definitely up for debate,
So
which is what we're here for. So yeah,
awesome.
let's hop into it.
Awesome. So the very beginning, what happens is just the intro, which is they're playing hide and seek,
Yeah.
Richard and Peter, and then Peter like finds the like glass shatter and there's pages all over the place. There's wind blowing, um, which is different in the second one because they kind of retcon in the second one. They're not really playing hide and seek in the second one. This is me like going back and forth between the two, so bear with me.
I
Um,
I'm I'm already not convinced. I'm pretty sure
okay.
number
Yeah, I
2 is
disagree.
just showing a different like
Point
later.
of view.
Yeah.
So I guess
Well,
I
I
guess
think it was like Richard, he needed some time to record the video. So what he does is to get Peter to not bug him while he's doing it, he says, oh, let's play hide and seek. And then
Mhm.
with that, he sets up the thing behind the curtains. Firstly, because he wants his son to have fun, but
Okay,
also
so I
because he
I
needs
just
his son to
I just pulled
not
up the second
interrupt him.
film. There is
Mm-hmm.
not a retcon. The first time we seen Peter in the second film is after he is already in the room after he finds it in the first film. So we're just picking up later. That's
Okay.
it.
It definitely. I think that's one thing I was thinking. Like maybe he just told him to play hide and seek so he can kind of distract him. But
Yeah, that's what I always assumed it
this is
was.
also in the second movie. Like this is right after he Richard deletes everything from Oscorp.
Hmm.
He gets locked out and he's essentially on the run at this point. I figured
Yes.
he's more in a rush than he is worrying about recording anything right now. If anything, he would have done that way before any of the
So
stuff that he did at Oscorp.
everyone assumes that for some reason he had any previous knowledge that he would have had time to do this. I don't really understand it. Like for me, the interpretation I had is, especially because of the dialogue in TASM 1,
Mm-hmm.
where fucking what's his name, Ratha,
Yeah,
the
Rafa.
the yeah, he talks to Connors and he's like, oh, 15 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
um Richard was saying the same thing you are right now. Uh, and so for me, I always assumed that he was saying the same thing. He was being outraged, and and he talks to like higher ups at Oscorp, and then with that, they're like, "Yeah, we don't care about your feelings on the regarding this project. Either you work with us, or we're gonna appropriate your research." Which, and then that's the point where he goes back to the lab and starts destroying shit, and then they revoke his access because they see through the camera, which the film shows, the camera POV,
Mm-hmm.
that he is destroying shit, and because of that they revoke his access, and then he can't delete the files, and then he goes home to record a video because he's like, okay, so they're gonna try to set me up, and I'm gonna try to stop them. But then he hears his son call for him, and he goes to his office and he sees that it was broken into, so he realizes that they're in a bigger um that they're in a bigger
A more
rush.
dangerous situation.
Yeah, more dangerous situation than he assumed they were. So that's why he picks up Peter straight away and goes to Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Uh,
So I'm gonna push back on that because uh about 1:33 in TASM 2, um Peter finds out the information about Richard, and Richard essentially says, I'm not gonna make bioweapons for you, and like he's talking to Oscorp. And they've gotten enough time to the point where um what's his name? Norman Osborn, he's already started falsifying evidence about Richard. So there is some time since Richard has
has
told.
he started? Because all that Richard says is he will.
No, he
He's
said has falsified evidence against me. Norman Osborn has. I have it pulled up here at
yeah.
one
But
thirty-three
don't you
fifty.
think he's just going by him using the fact that he was doing, like, destroying the research in front of a camera, and that's what he means by falsifying evidence?
What is falsified?
Well,
Well,
simply the
the
fact that
intent behind it.
Oscorp has way more power. Like it's a $200 billion company. If they want to pay off media to do whatever they can, and they will. And then also because we know Norman Osborn is manipulative, I
Mm-hmm.
find it highly reasonable because stuff like this happens all the time that when Richard Parker says that he doesn't want to do it, they can try to blackmail him and show security camera footage or any other manner of things.
And also, I when talking to when talking to Richard, when he he's getting angry that what they say about working with military contractors and everything, that Richard could have possibly said, like, he could have possibly said, like, oh, you can't legally appropriate my research, and then their rebuttal is something that relates to them falsifying evidence, and that's why he includes it in this video.
So that's also another thing I was gonna talk about was just the ability for them to like be selling bioweapons in the first place. That's another that's a monster I'll tackle here after this, but I'm basically just going off of what Richard says is that he has already falsified information about Richard, and that like that's just the line I'm going off of because there's
Okay,
really
so
nothing else to
I'll go
think.
back to that. I'll go back to that really
Okay.
quick. What do we know about Norman? Do we know that Norman is manipulative, or at the very least, Oscorp as an entity is manipulative?
Sure.
So if we know that Richard Parker is capable of making these extremely advanced things that no one else in the world can because he is the foremost expert, if he starts giving clues that he is going to defect, do you think Oscorp is going to stay within character and present evidence against him that is falsified, aka blackmail that would want to make him stay?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like I don't doubt that for a second that they're going to. I'm
No,
just
no, 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 no. That they already have it prepared.
that they already have falsified it. So then that would mean that there has been some time already since
Not
Richard has
necessarily
told
that
them.
Richard
No,
knows.
it's one thing
It's a
to have it
contingency
prepared and
plan.
another thing, yeah, contingency.
So that you're saying like Oscorp has prepared just in case he will defect.
That's a very normal thing for a very powerful company to do, especially how close Richard has been to Norman over the years. Um, Norman knows Richard's personality. He knows the kind of person that he is. So it would be really stupid of him to not have that. And
Um,
it's totally in character for him to have it.
I'm gonna push back on that because in the first one, what was his name? Connors. He also says something like pretty much the same thing. Like I'm not gonna do experiments on like human trials, knowing that nothing's gonna happen yet. Basically, what they do is they just fire him. They don't falsify any sort of information. There's nothing to really like show that they are
Yeah,
competent
because
enough to
what we
have
can assume
already.
is that the situation is different with Connors. Like their contracts you sign in situations like that, and you can imagine that with Connors, his contract probably had a clause with that they probably renewed after Richard left
Yeah.
Oscorp.
Yeah, also, Connors would already be suspicious after Richard suddenly leaves and dies, I'd imagine. He even says that he was angry and he cut off all communication from the Parker family in the first one. So Oscorp is obviously going to treat Connor's situation differently. Connors is also not as close to Norman as Richard was, and Richard wasn't doing public research yet. Like they hadn't started using the spider webs to build the tensile cords. He was simply doing genetics research. But Connors does work in the public sphere, and he's consistently giving tours like this. So trying to blackmail him, especially in the age of social media. Remember, Richard gets fired in 1996,
Mhm.
and we're now in 2012 with Connors. So the situation is going to be a lot different.
So you're saying that a young Oscorp would be able to have already falsified information just in case Richard does defect, and that's what he's referencing when he says they have falsifying information.
Yes.
That could be what he means, yeah, as an inference, yeah.
I don't know if there's enough to safely assume that.
Why?
Um,
Every argument that I've made has been Norman and Oscorp acting in character.
Yeah, if it's consistent for Oscorp and Norman to do something like this, then
For
I
example,
don't see how
if
it
we're
is
not
not
given if we're
different.
not explicitly given
mhm,
the falsified information, but
mhm.
Richard says that there is falsified information, and then
Mm-hmm.
we look at the character of Oscorp and Norman, if it is consistent that they would, I don't think it's an inappropriate inference to say that they don't.
Hmm. Okay. I guess that's just something I would have to think more about on
Now
really
hold on
to.
really quickly. Let's take your route and say that maybe they don't have falsified information yet. Do
Okay.
you think they would make falsified information?
Yeah.
Okay, so what
So
does
do
it
you
change?
think that no, my next question would be, so do you think that Richard would assume they would make falsified information?
Yeah. Absolutely. My
So
point is
don't you think his
my
video
point.
that he's going to release after the fact, don't you think his video
Uh-huh.
mentioning the falsified information preemptively, even if they don't have it yet, but he knows they're going to do it because he knows just how Oscorp operates after what he's seen coming from them. So would he include that in his own video? I
The
would say
the
that
the
that's fair.
falsified information. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, where he's like, oh, so I know they are going to make falsified information,
Mhm.
and so I'm going to mention that in my video.
I mean, you can say that and not say that. It really wouldn't make much change. I mean, as long as you have the information that's true, right? So, I mean, it really doesn't matter.
No,
I
so
don't
so
understand
all
what you're
all
trying
all
to
we're
say. I'm
saying
sorry.
is the whole point is regardless or not of whether Oscorp currently has or doesn't has falsified information,
Mm-hmm.
they will at some point.
Yeah,
And so if Richard is presuming that his video is going to be seen sometime in the future, then it would be stupid of him to not say it.
I
It's
feel like if they are going to have falsified information, he would say they are gonna make falsified information because of the time that he's recording it. Like he's speaking
s-
naturally. He's also in a rush, so I feel like that he has already told them a while ago, "I'm not gonna make bioweapons for you." It feels like we're at like a uh, standstill here. So there's gonna
not
have to
necessarily.
be some
So
more.
what we know is Richard said that they're
Uh huh.
going to make bioweapons. He
Mhm.
refused, and
Mhm.
and he's not saying that there is a length of time passing. This can happen in an afternoon. And with everything that Richard knows about Oscorp pushing back and the reason why he decided to make this video in the first place, and then take Peter, that really was the catalyst for everything happening as quick as it did. There's nothing in the story to assume that there was a length of time to pass or for him to prepare. Like the the moment he discovered that what they were going to use his research for, that was morally against everything he stood for. And so at that point, when Oscorp started threatening him, well, there's not much time. So I really don't see room in your argument for saying that Richard would have any time to prepare anything.
Okay,
Okay,
that's fine. Yeah, we
let's
can
uh,
move
let's
on
move
from there.
on.
Well, I mean, I guess there are like tangential like stuff related to that. I guess I'm gonna go with the bioweapon stuff. They
Okay.
in the first, I'm gonna like skip forward in the movie. In the first movie, they have a weapon called the Ganali device, something like
Ganali
that.
Yeah,
device. Yeah.
yep.
So they made a bioweapon, but they weren't allowed to sell it, release it, or anything like that. So
It
what
wasn't a
makes
bioweapon.
Yeah, it wasn't a bioweapon. It's just
was
a
it? So
device that
it was a tool that could be
distributes.
used as a bioweapon.
Yeah,
Sure,
which
which
is
is
why it's
why.
yeah.
Right.
But yeah, what's your point?
So the fact that like Oscorp has a bioweapon, I'm referencing like Richard Parker's research. How would that be allowed to go through, considering they won't even allow a potential bioweapon to go through?
I'm not entirely sure what you're saying.
I don't
Like,
understand your point. Sorry.
are you asking what Richard Parker's research was going to be used for?
Well, yeah, they say they're gonna use it for bioweapon stuff, right?
Yeah, no, they said
They
foreign
say
military
that it's
contracts.
yeah, military contracts. So I
So
don't think
so
it's
if
I think it's supposed to be like creating potentially super soldier, but selling it to like commit war crimes and shit like that. I just don't
right.
remember the exact way it's said.
Yeah, so they were going to make bioweapons for foreign military contracts. The Ganali device was just to be a thing that businesses would buy to be
Mm-hmm.
able to, well, they said it was for agriculture initially. And then Connors mentioned that because it had the possibility to be used as a weapon and this device was already public knowledge that they couldn't release it. But the whole point of Richard
Yeah.
Parker's stuff is that it wasn't public knowledge and even Richard didn't know what it was being used for.
Oh yeah, no,
So
Richard's research was very hidden. And the Ganali device was supposed to be something they came out publicly because it was going to be used for curing disease and that kind of shit, which is like a huge step up from from everything pretty much. It's a big step in science that if you can like cure, like he says, could cure polio in an afternoon or something like that. But
Right.
the issue is that it could be used for also spreading disease to the same degree that it could be used to prevent it. So
Um. Okay, that's fair. Let me bring up my notes. I don't know where it went. You guys really did have a lot of time to think about this.
Oh yeah, we thought about this shit for
Oh
a
yeah.
while.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I don't blame you guys. It's really good
Oh
debate.
yeah, just we've heard every kind of argument against it, so
Oh
it's the
yeah,
kind of thing we do definitely all the
you guys are
time.
very prepared.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
think there is an argument you will bring tonight that we haven't already heard. We'll just put
Oh,
it that way.
I
I
I
mean,
I
Madcap
bet,
yesterday
yeah.
made some that I hadn't heard, but it was just because of how dumb they were. But
Uh,
Okay.
oof.
Oh, okay. I guess jumping back and forth to TASM 1 and 2. Back to 2.
hmm
In Richard Parker, why didn't he upload everything as soon as he got home rather than from the plane?
What do you mean?
so he records the video when he's not home, right? And then he
Right.
sees that his office got raided, and then he runs out right away with his son and his wife
Oh, right.
to put his son in Uncle Ben and Aunt May's house. So I wouldn't say he
For
has time
example,
to.
the initial plan
Uh-huh.
wasn't going to be uploading it to Roosevelt from the plane. Like it wasn't until he saw the office completely destroyed that he's like that kind of sense of I mean, he already had a sense of urgency.
Mm-hmm.
But like it's much more important to get his son to safety than it is to upload a video at that point.
Yeah,
It would be out of character for him to do that, I'd say.
That's an
yeah,
yeah.
because like he just rushes right away
Sure,
to
sure,
the
sure, sure,
plane.
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, if that was the case that he knows that Oscorp knows where he lives, wouldn't he like be that? Wouldn't that be the first thing that he does is to take his family and leave as soon as possible?
Well, the thing is, I don't think he's assuming that they're gonna raid his house. Once they do, he realizes they're in more danger
Well, surely
than
he knows
he
that they
thought.
know where he lives, especially with
But not
Well,
knowing where he
Norman
lives
Osborn.
is
yeah.
that they raid their house. There's one thing to know where you live. The other thing is to, invade your house and steal your research. Which it's where your son is. It's like I would assume because he was friends with Norman, he would think that at least Peter would be off limits in something like this.
Yeah,
I
especially
don't know if
because
it's safe
Peter
to
and
assume
Harry are
that.
friends.
I don't know if it's safe
Yeah,
to assume that, especially if you guys say like he knows how manipulative they are.
yeah, he knows how manipulative Oscorp is, and I don't think he would trust Norman anymore. But it's a thing to just not trust someone. It's another thing to assume that they're going to invade your house and put your son in danger. Like that's the kind of thing where that I think is a that shows how immoral Sauce Corp is to a point where he didn't expect because of just his son. I'd say that's kind of like he'd assume it's off limits in a
I don't
case
know
like
if
that.
it's
And like Thought said, especially because Harry and uh, Peter are best friends at this point. It's the kind of thing where you think, oh, that's
And
interesting.
also going back to the video, Richard says that he has to disappear at this point. Like he has been left no choice, he has to disappear. And the
Mhm.
most important thing to him is Peter. And so at this point, making sure that the video is uploaded to a drive, not as important as getting his family out. And then secondly, because he has had this long relationship with Oscorp, and because Oscorp hasn't done anything yet, like he was still in the midst of trying to do successful negotiations. It wasn't until they saw the cameras and saw that he was destroying the research, and then saw that he was being actively pursued through the house, that
Mhm.
that is like instantly, you know,
Yeah,
you
things
can't prepare for
escalated
something like that.
during
Sure.
that day. I don't think he was prepared. There was enough preparation for him to be like, "So this is what I'm gonna do." So like, he needed to record the video at some place. If he and he gets home and he records it, and he thinks, "Okay, I'm gonna have enough time," but then he sees that they invaded his home and tried to steal his research. That kind of makes him okay. So now I can't focus on this. I gotta focus on my son now. He
Right.
thought he had enough time, and he doesn't.
Okay.
And even if he did assume that they would try to steal the research from his house, uh, it's the kind of thing where it's like it's to an extent that he didn't expect because of how unprepared he is, because it's all just happening like really quick during the day.
Sure. Um. Then in that case, let's say I'm gonna go ahead and concede on that.
All right.
So at this point, his house is raided. They know that, or he knows that they know where he lives. They're able to get into his house and like potentially hurt people. So um why is the first place that he goes to Aunt May's house, especially knowing that in the first movie Connors knows like their family pretty personally. That's what he's like. That's why I didn't see your family,
because
right?
they wouldn't be there and his research wouldn't be there. It's the kind of thing where it's at this
Well,
point, because they invaded his house, they know that he's going to run away. So all
surely
he
you can get
goes there to do
collateral.
is to,
You can get
well, he
collateral. You
needs
can use
to
them as
get Peter somewhere
hostage.
safe. Where else is safe? If he
There's
gives him
there's
to his brother, and he doesn't tell them anything, they're not going to have information. And so Oscorp try, let's say they, if for some reason they kill Uncle Ben and Aunt May after they cause an accident for Richard, where he ends up dying. Don't you think
That's
that's going
gonna
to
give
put
the
a
public
massive,
fear. That's a
yeah,
target.
that's a massive target they're putting on their back? And that's why they send the FBI agents, as we
surely
see later,
they can just falsify more evidence in order to get away from that. That's not something that they need to be concerned
No,
about.
but it's one thing to falsify evidence. The other thing is just from the public, how they would view this information, which would be a thing they would care about, because public, how they're viewed in the public eye
Sure,
correlates directly to the investor confidence that they have, which they
sure.
need,
But
because that's
And
how
then
it's
they
hold
easy.
on,
finance
hold
their shit.
on. One other thing. Ultimately, at the bottom of this, Oscorp and Norman's motivation is to keep Richard on board. They need Richard so Norman can survive. That's really the core of everything. So the more harm that Oscorp does to his son or to Aunt May and Uncle Ben, the less likely Richard is going to be willing to work with them. And
I think that's opposite of what I would think. They would use them as hostage and use them as collateral. Why not?
Marcus, I think you and I went over this previously. Once again, the more steps that Oscorp has to take to get this to happen, the bigger um, target they'll have on their back. So, example, if the entire Parker family is all of a sudden cut off from all of their external communications, which I don't think would happen already, just the sudden betrayal, like it simply is just Oscorp is trying to do the minimal amount for the maximum gain, and the more they complicate things with Peter or by killing his family members, like that's absolutely not going to help the situation at all.
Okay. Um, I think the first place I would have gone with my family is the one place that I know nobody will ever find, which is Roosevelt. I mean, it's like
So you're
20
just gonna leave your
years.
family in the
Oh
train.
no, not necessarily. But like you go down there and that's a safe haven for a good while. You can exonerate yourself there. You have internet access. You can be perfectly fine without anybody knowing where you are.
Not
And
necessarily.
okay,
Oscorp still has eyes on Richard. That's how they know he's going to take the private plane. That's how they know that they're
Yeah, if he goes there, they could follow him. It's
I
not a
mean,
situation where the last thing he wants Oscorp to do is to go to his private fucking lab.
which is where all of the research that he's been trying to keep hidden is. Like
Yeah,
right, and it stays hidden for 20 plus years.
yeah,
yeah, because he doesn't go there after Oscorp is tailing him. Yeah,
there's no trace.
Hmm.
Okay, so put yourself in Richard's shoes. You know
Uh-huh.
Oscorp is following you. Okay. Why
Okay.
would you take them to the one place that you don't want them to be?
Well, I mean, isn't that the case with like them going on a plane? Is it like then you're like never gonna get away?
yeah, yeah. He said we are gonna have to spend the rest of our lives looking over our shoulders. He
Right.
knows he can't really get away. Yeah.
So at the very least, you would go to the one place that you at least think nobody can follow you.
No, no,
He
but
He
he
hasn't.
knows
knows
He
they're being
he
followed.
knows they're being followed. The point is that he is being followed. How? What does he do going
Does
from
he know
there?
he's being followed, or they just know where he lives?
No, he
That I think
absolutely
there's
knows
a
he's
good
being
distinction.
followed. Like the fact that his house has been ransacked at that point, like what more do you need to know you're being followed?
That doesn't mean you're being followed. They just know where you live. That
Oh,
doesn't necessarily mean you're being
they're
followed.
going after you. Of course, they're gonna follow you from your house.
They revoked your access, they ransacked your house. Now
They
what? Like
you can easily like know that people are not watching you from behind you. Like nobody's driving behind them or anything like that. Especially
okay,
like
so
going to
hold on.
okay,
From the evidence in the film, is
uh-huh.
Oscorp following Richard?
Not necessarily.
Really?
Yes.
How do they know he's gonna get on the plane?
Uh, got me there.
B because they're
That's
following him.
Yeah.
right. So
Like, why
so
wouldn't they follow him in this? If your answer is
And
no,
like
why wouldn't they
you
follow him?
can tell someone covertly and without that person knowing you're telling them. That's the job of a lot of CIA agents and shit like that.
right, and that I have some criticism about that plane scene anyway. Um,
Which we'll
and
get to.
we'll get to, yeah. There, we have plenty of time. In the house, is it established that the house was broken into before? I would assume that it's before because you don't hear any break-in or anything like that, or after.
Well, the whole thing is
Richard
told
gets
from
there.
Peter's perspective. So the timeline isn't entirely clear, but we know that um, from the time that Richard defects from Oscorp to the time that Peter calls him into the room, a break-in happened.
Right, but there's
Yeah,
nobody in there. I mean, everything's
yeah,
already ransacked. So I
yeah.
I think it's safe to assume that it's before Richard has even gotten home.
I don't think so. I think they would have noticed that.
Right, and also I think another
Yeah, I think so too.
I think another addition to that evidence is if it was before Richard got home, Mary would have known.
Right. So
That's
then,
also true.
what is the thought process here that they threw a rock inside of Richard's home and left?
No, that they just they entered through the top. Obviously, the entire office has been torn through.
Uh huh.
Okay, so like it wasn't that they just threw a rock through. And then secondly, because of the inferred timeline that we know that Oscorp is on their trail, they're in close pursuit. So,
So if
I
they're in
mean,
close pursuit, why wouldn't they have just ran into the house and collected Richard?
and what do you mean?
Well, I mean they need Richard, right? So why wouldn't they go in and just get him? So you're saying you're thinking that they ransacked the house
No, they
within a
don't need
few.
Richard. They need Richard's research because they already know
Okay.
Richard is refusing to cooperate. So for
I would still think they need Richard because he deleted a lot of files. I think that they would use him rather than just kill him. That's another
I
thing.
don't think so. They have Connors to work on his research. The issue is that they don't have his research anymore, which is what they're
That's
trying
why they
to avoid,
ransacked the office. They were looking for the, decay rate algorithm files, which is
Right.
what
which is
Connors ends
hidden.
up that's why when
Okay.
Richard goes in there, the very first thing he looks for is the decay rate algorithm.
Okay. Okay. So and they obviously they don't find it. So then they leave the house without getting anything.
No, at that point, they're covering their bases, which is why they send somebody to the plane. They see if they can't get Richard to work with them, then they need him dead, but they don't wanna make a scene. So if they try to kidnap somebody,
Or
well, in the middle of
kill
a
them in that
yeah,
house
in
even.
the middle of a public neighborhood, that's not what they want. They literally wanna make it look like an accident, which is why they do it the way they do.
You can easily make it look like a random burglary happened, and you just need to steal the research files. Richard's
That's
already
That
there.
requires
Why not?
president would you say.
Well,
To
yeah,
yeah.
you
make it
guys
look
have
like a
already said
burglary.
you just got to put a mask on.
No, no, hold on a second, hold on a second. So, let's say that because Richard and Mary are very close, do you
Mhm.
think Mary, being his wife, would have an idea of what's going on at Oscorp?
I mean, the fact that she already like goes and travels with him, I assume so. Yeah.
Okay, so and then do we know Connors had a close relationship with Richard?
Yeah.
Okay, so if Connors sees that Richard's access has been revoked, and then a random burglar happens to kill him at the house,
Mhm.
and then Mary sees that a random burglar happens to kill him at the
Mhm.
house,
Mhm.
how do you think that's gonna make Oscorp look in the public eye?
They're they're gonna be easily able to cover that. It's
I
like what do they say? Something deniability, plausible deniability.
Plausible
plausible
deniability.
deniability?
There's no proof that it could be linked back to
Okay,
Oscorp.
so Sandhill, once again, we're trying to say what can Oscorp do that makes the least amount of noise that has the highest success rate? Do you think what they did made the least amount of noise with the highest success rate? An accidental plane crash. And not only that, it makes it look worse for Richard
I think it's
because
far.
they
I
Yeah,
think
they,
it's
they
because it
need
makes
far
it
to
look
more
like
need
he
a
was
cover
efficient.
running
story.
away
I
as
think
opposed to
it's.
killing him in his house. It's like, oh,
I,
considering then imagine he's killed in his house and they question um and they end up questioning
A yeah,
Connors even. It's
I
like,
think.
oh, that was what happened just before.
I
It's like,
think
oh, could
Oscorp,
they've been
as
trying
big as they
to.
are, it doesn't really matter like how much noise they need to make. Like I would even say that crashing a public plane is gonna create
it's not
way
a
more,
public plane. It's
or
a private plane.
private plane. That's what I meant to say.
No, it's
A
way more plausible deniability.
I
Think about it.
than a random burglary. I don't know.
Yeah,
In
yeah,
New York
because
Yeah,
City.
he was
so
running away and the plane happened to crash.
so the cover
That's how
story,
people feel.
Richard Parker runs away with research and
Mm-hmm.
money,
Mm-hmm.
and karma kicks him in the ass, and
Mm-hmm.
the plane crashes. Now, there's nothing in the plane that would show that anything fishy happened.
Bullet holes. There's a bullet in Mary.
Dude, do you know what happens when a plane crashes?
You can still find bullet
Yeah, and
holes
that wasn't
in the
planned even,
bodies.
the bullet hole. That happens during it because
Okay,
she
hold
happened
on.
to break out of the
Well,
bathroom.
Hold on, really quickly, really
Okay.
quickly. The plane was found. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
One bullet goes out of the window.
Uh-huh.
One bullet goes into Mary.
Uh-huh.
Okay. In a plane crash like that, which was literally tumbling straight down from the sky,
Mm-hmm.
there is not going to be a millimeter of your body left.
What about the black box? Every plane has one,
The
right?
well, the black
Didn't
box,
they
all
say
that
that
has
there
is
was no black
comms.
box?
No, there's always a black box, is there not?
There are sometimes that
Not
there is a
really.
black boxes,
Yeah,
and
and
sometimes
sometimes
they
they are
can't be
lost.
recovered.
Yeah, because considering the state of the plane when it was crashing, it could be feasible that it would like fall in very far away and they wouldn't find it and shit like that.
And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but in the newspaper clipping, it said that there wasn't a black box. But even if there was a black box, all that records is comms. That's it.
Right, so they would have comms with so I mean, I don't want to get ahead of myself and start to like criticize the whole plane scene itself. I'm gonna like bring it back for a second. I still don't think that I think that it'd be far more efficient for them to go in, ransack the place, Richard's place. If they don't find anything, they would rob Richard and get him to say or like give him the research stuff and get the hell out of there.
Okay,
Threaten,
hold on. That
threaten
won't
them.
happen. We know
Okay.
that won't happen. Richard will not give up research.
I mean, you can do this, like a lot of things to people who don't want to do stuff for you, especially being Oscorp.
You can definitely try to do something, but the point is that Norman knows Richard very well. He knows he would not give up his research if it meant
Well, so
that
then what
people
is
would
the point of
end up
going
getting
after
hurt from
him?
it.
And what's the point of
To
going after him?
steal his research.
So then you
And
can
then
steal the
afterwards-
research. So you can steal the research here.
What?
I mean, he has the file on hand, right? Like at some point he's gonna upload the stuff. He
I don't know
he's
what you're
already.
talking
I have no idea what you're
Okay,
talking
okay,
about.
okay. Richard is going to upload all the stuff that could exonerate him, right? That's the research that they're trying to get.
No, no. Richard is simply uploading his tape. He's not going to. You really think Richard would upload all of that image to a public sector where people could take that and weaponize it for themselves? No, the whole point is that like he's trying to keep his research as far away from Oscorp and the public eye as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And then he makes this video to cover his ass. And even in the video, he says, yeah, people are probably going to say, like, I'm a monster for what I've done. Like, he's saying that's a very real possibility. But ultimately, the motivation at the bottom of it, he's like, I don't give a damn if Richard, and Mary have to die. You know, the most important thing to me is Peter. So he's saying, like, I literally don't care if they kill me,
Uh-huh.
which is what happens.
So, okay, then I
And
guess
hold
I'm
on,
a
hold on one
bit
second. So
confused.
if correct me if I'm wrong, your issue is Oscorp is taking steps that they don't need.
Um, yeah, I think so. I think that's what I'm going for.
Okay. So if we want to say that Oscorp's motivation is number one, to get the research, and then
Uh-huh.
number two, to protect themselves.
Mhm.
Okay. If they know that Richard is not going to give up the research,
Mhm.
which he doesn't, because we know they ransacked his place, then the second thing they need to do is they need to kill Richard.
Right.
Because if they don't kill Richard, Richard will expose them. Okay.
Okay.
But they want to kill Richard quietly. They know Richard has to go on the run at this point. They
Mhm.
know he does
Mhm.
because he has to get as far away from Peter as possible. So they're like, okay, well, we know he has a private plane. Okay. When he gets on the private plane and the plane crashes like that, it creates the perfect cover story for Oscorp. That number one makes it look like Richard was a selfish asshole who ran away with money and karma kicked him for it. Number two makes the rest of his family look horribly on Richard and Mary for the rest of their lives, which we see that Aunt May and Uncle Ben kind of did
Mhm.
in TASM 2.
Mhm.
And then number three, it discourages any kind of hero worship for Peter, from Peter for his dad, because his dad ran away with the money.
Right.
So essentially, in the scenario with the plane crash, Oscorp creates for themselves a best case scenario. They create a lot more problems if they try to do it in any way that could be perceived as more public or more sketchy. A plane crash, like they do the way they do, is
Mhm.
going to be far, far, far more effective than trying to kill him in a burglary where other people could potentially see. Even if one person sees, even if one neighbor is watching and can, yes, Oscorp can create a cover story for themselves, but that's not what they want to do. They don't want to
Yeah,
create
the thing
any
is
noise
with
for themselves.
the plane, there's pretty much it's very hard to tie back to Oscorp. Whereas if they're killed in their own home, it's something that being more public, the public eye would be like, oh, that's weird that that would happen the way it did or when it did.
Now,
Uh,
you're right. You're right that they could potentially create a cover story for that, but the whole point is that with the plane, they don't. They take the eye off of them entirely,
I
which is
mean, yeah,
what they want.
true, but yeah, I was just meant to say more like in the public eye, they wouldn't need to deal with it anymore uh, if they do it in the plane as opposed to doing it in the apartment,
Okay.
the house, whatever.
Okay. I guess that was just a little bit of confusion on my part about like what Oscorp was trying to do with Richard.
Hmm.
Do you think it makes sense now?
I think it makes more sense because you distinguish like them trying to get research failed, so they leave the house. Then they try to make a cover story of so that Richard can't get them back.
Right.
Okay, so uh, I can concede that Oscorp is, you know, uh, trying to cover their tracks like that. That's fine to me. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Um, now I'm kind of like criticizing Richard now. Him taking a private plane would be a bad idea because this stuff is gonna happen. You would try to be in the public eye as much as possible, wouldn't
I
you?
don't think so.
Yeah, I
So
would.
let me real quick,
To like,
because we were
like
actually talking to
prevent all
Joeske
that.
about this, where he came up with a good defense for that actually. That
Okay.
we, you know, but from Richard's perspective, does he think it's possible that Oscorp would take down a public airplane? Not that it's plausible, but that it's possible.
Sure.
It is.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, so is it in character for Richard Parker to put people in danger for something that is like completely his own fault?
No. No. That's a pretty
So
fair.
do you think he would take a public plane, which could endanger more people from his perspective?
Um. No. I guess not. At this point, the only like counter I would have, which not may not be that strong, is that um he doesn't know if people are gonna if he's gonna or if Oscorp is gonna hurt people.
It,
He
no, but
doesn't know, but the point is he thinks it's possible, and that's enough for him because
Sure.
the philosophy of the great power comes great responsibility, though not
Sure. Sure.
exactly that line, but the Ben tells Peter in TASM 1 comes from him. So
Right.
that considering he believes that, I don't think he would ever put people in danger for something like that.
Okay.
and then just kind of put the nail in the coffin, we know that time is of the essence here. Him trying to buy a ticket and then wait in the airport for the plane where he could potentially be picked up there, and then be on a public flight that can be tracked, and then they know where they're going to land, as opposed to just driving straight to his airplane and taking off immediately. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, it would just be out of character in almost every sense for him to take a public flight.
Yeah, it's like I agree that like it would be that he would be endangering the public. I think that's fair. I think if he knew like it wouldn't endanger the public, he would still take that. Is that fair to say? I mean, I'm not trying to make up the story, but like that was the case.
No, because once again, time is still of the essence.
Uh-huh.
I
So
mean, I think it's like if you
Well, I mean, he
if
would
you
be
have to put
protected
this
by the
shit
public,
together,
right?
like it's the situation is all of this that makes up the context. So I don't know if you could just separate that and say if people weren't wouldn't be in danger if he knew they wouldn't be in danger. I don't know. I
Okay.
think you have to analyze it that way anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just thinking about like if it was on a public plane, if like how exactly they would take it down. I guess they could just do the same thing.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I'm gonna go to that private plane now. I'm just gonna criticize a little bits of it.
hmm
Let's see. Um, he would take the private plane. And the guy who is from Oscorp manages to fool the his pilot that he's also part of the plane. Um,
I
long
think
enough,
that's
long enough.
I don't know if that's entirely true.
Okay.
So we know that the co-pilot from
Mhm.
Oscorp is there before Richard and Mary get there
How do we know that exactly?
No, he takes
because
off.
yeah,
He if he's the co-pilot, he has to be there before they get there because they would leave as soon as Richard and Mary arrive. So he would have had to be
that
which would have been there from
they're
the get
always
go.
on call. So for example,
Yeah.
dude,
Okay.
if you're getting on a plane, the pilot is not walking in after you're on the plane.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's
I've been on planes and like that's happened, but okay, that's fair. That's fine.
okay.
He would still have to fool the co-pilot or like the main
N-
pilot that
The
like
main pilot,
I'm.
I don't think that's what's happening.
What do you mean?
I just
I think
assumed he
he's
had
being
like fake
threatened,
ID and shit like that. I
Surely
don't know
like
or
exactly how it
or
works.
he's being threatened.
I don't think that would be the case considering the way he acts in the plane. It seems he's a paid assassin as
Oh
opposed
no
to.
no 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 no. What I'm saying is that the co-pilot is threatening the pilot.
Oh yeah, that could be the case. Yeah.
sure. I mean, sure. Like, there's nothing to really say that though, but like, I mean, it's
I mean,
Outside
yeah,
plausible.
of
we're
the
just
fact that
thinking
he's
of
an
plausible
assassin.
ways for him to get
Um,
inside the plane as a co-pilot. So
Right.
that
So
could be a
we're
way. We
just
don't
saying
need to know exactly how it
we're
happened.
we're just saying what's in character. Also, um, private pilots. Hold on, let me check this. So for a private pilot, their yearly salary is around like $200,000 for the very very top earners. Like if you're working for billionaires.
mhm.
Mm.
But
Oscorp could pay him off. Yeah.
yeah, but normally there it's like $52,000. With Oscorp as rich as they are, I guarantee that you could bribe the pilot in this scenario.
So what I would push back a little bit and have Richard act in character to make sure that the pilot is like trustworthy
Well,
before they
so
take
The
off.
kind of thing I don't think he has enough time
yeah,
to do.
not only does he not have enough time, but clearly because he owns this plane and he's flown in it before,
Mhm.
he's going
Yeah.
to be going in with that presumption of trust.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, with that presumption of trust at least one of the pilots, but
Also, once again, as soon as Peter is
and they're
gone,
already in the.
as soon as Peter's safe,
Uh-huh.
he knows that any moment he can die.
Yeah. He just wants enough time to upload it to Roosevelt before he goes.
That's it.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
So if he's on the plane and even if he knew he was going to die the moment he stepped on that plane, I think
Uh-huh.
he'd be totally okay with it because Peter's safe and
Right.
then he could upload it to Roosevelt.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that's fair. Fair pushback. Um, because I'm like kind of just going on TASM 2. Let's go back to TASM 1. Um,
Would you say it's fair to say so far that all of the criticisms you've brought up have been brought down?
yeah, yeah. I think that just the whole Richard situation thing. That's the one I've thought the least about, but it's definitely plausible. Everything you guys have said so far.
All right, let's tackle your hardest criticisms then.
Okay. Let's see. Pretty much a lot of stuff that happens in the first movie happens um by pure contrivance, or not contrivance, convenience. Um
Such
like
as?
like I just kind of took a bunch of notes as the movie was going on, so.
So hold on, before you get started, we
Mhm.
will admit that him getting into Oscorp, or not necessarily him getting into Oscorp, but Oscorp not having photo IDs on the badge is convenient.
Yeah, and then him bumping into Ratha, which is what leads him to get to the.
It's not
Right.
impossible, but it is
It
convenient.
is convenient, yeah.
Yeah, it's not. I'd even say it's like to the detriment of Oscorp for them not to double check that somebody has intruded into Oscorp, especially like
Yeah, no,
Rodrigo
we
being pulled
agree
out. Yeah.
that they
Okay.
needed to have better security, considering
Okay.
it's Oscorp and yeah.
Which is interesting though, because it's almost like the films are aware of this and their security is way buffed up in TASM 2.
Yeah, I think the second film tried to account for it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and then bumped into Imran Khan. Sorry, I call him Imran Khan. I grew up with like Indian movies, so that's what I know him as. The the Indian dude. Okay. Um also Rodrigo. All right, so the lock that leads into the 00 room is like insanely stupid. It's essentially two button swipes. That
Well,
is.
so hold on a second.
Uh-huh.
The place where he goes into,
Mhm.
where the spiders are, so
Right.
that's not classified.
Okay.
It's just another workroom. In
Yeah.
fact, it's
Where
public
they get
knowledge
the.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
where they get
on the
the
website
webs
where
from.
that's where they're
Okay.
manufacturing the webs.
Yeah, I don't
But
think security there needs to be like super buffed, just to get into that room.
yeah, I'm just like even a number pad key lock is better than the lock that they already have here, and the way that like.
Well, isn't it like it'd be infinite possibilities because you can uh swipe the little bubbles like anywhere on the screen.
right,
So wouldn't it
plus
be more
So like you have to do
combinations
this
than
the
just.
two specific ones, because he does
Yeah,
the exact same ones at like
yeah.
as soon as you open it, like you see it's the exact same ones. It's. I
wait,
mean,
Yeah,
so
you would
he
have.
does the exact same thing that
So I
Rafa
mean,
did
in
to
order
get in.
in order
Yeah.
for that
I'd
lock to
actually
be like
argue if
infinite.
it's a number pad, it would be way easier to figure out the code.
How so? I mean,
So
it's also like just based on like the angle that he's looking at. It's pretty
let's say
stupid,
it's a
but.
Oh,
standard
yeah, I
four
do
digit.
think it's kind of weird the way he does it because he is looking at from an angle that I don't think he would be able to fully
And yeah,
see
he's like,
the combination.
yeah,
I do think it's plausible that he could, but I think it's kind of like that's a bit of a stretch for me.
it's such a weird angle that he takes. He's like on the right side of the lock when
So
the door's
Yeah,
to
I
his
do think
left.
though that because it's because of the lens that the film is shot in, it may seem like it's further away than it actually is.
yeah. I actually was gonna say I know what lens they used on this one. It was a 25 millimeter, which
Mhm.
makes things look a little wider than they are in real life, which is a 35. And I think they were doing that for dramatic effect. It's pretty common, but I'll actually give you another kind of stretch bit of evidence here. I still
Mhm.
think Peter would have gotten in the room because he starts talking to Connors, and that's the department that Connors works on. And so,
Oh yeah, it's
obviously.
definitely possible he would have gotten into the room afterwards, after he talks to Connor and everything. It just means that he would become Spider-Man later on in the film.
Sure. Yeah, I don't think that's too far off. I'm just kind of criticizing how they do give him his powers.
So,
Hmm.
well,
Um,
yeah, I mean, I
and
guess we can
that
criticize the way
lock is.
they shoot and edit the scene, but I don't think from a writing standpoint it's bad because also remember, when you're writing the script like this, you can't write those camera angles into I mean, you
No, yeah,
can, but
no.
like the way it's going to look exactly.
Yeah,
So
Right,
I would
right, right.
imagine in the script they aren't writing an impossible angle.
Right.
yeah, it's the kind of shit that
Yeah, I don't
will
think they're
probably
writing
just be
like.
from. Yeah, I guess there'd be more of an issue of set design and cinematography and whatnot.
um he like peeks out multiple times, and the guy's like looking back, like just randomly disappears, but
Yeah, once again, I just say that's a mistake on the editing part, not necessarily writing.
Yeah,
Sure.
but
Yeah.
yeah,
No. No.
I'm
I don't
fine with
think.
saying that the scene is a bit contrived with the
Yeah,
kind
I
of
don't
shit where
think
it's
they
like,
would put
yeah,
that in the
he should have
writing.
seen Peter or not. But it's the kind of thing where like he sees Peter. I don't know exactly what's gonna happen. Like he sees Peter and it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, oh no, I just uh wanted
Just
to know
here
what
for
those
the
symbols on
intro.
the
Yeah.
wall meant.
If he,
Sorry.
yeah, if he just looked
Uh,
back one more time, he'd notice that he's being followed, and I think raise a higher eyebrow. But um,
Though I don't, I
as-
don't really think it would change anything considering the room he's walking into is the one that wouldn't
sure,
that doesn't
sure. Like if
ultimately
they
matter
had
because
it,
it's just
I think it would be
webs.
far better if they wrote in like him doing it with uh Connors. I think that'd be far better. I think that would improve the film.
Oh yeah, I think it could have been neat actually that he gets his powers from talking to Connors. It's
Yeah,
kind of like the
I
same way
agree.
where he's responsible for creating the lizard in a way. Connors would be responsible for creating Spider-Man.
Right.
I don't know.
In a different kind of way, but yeah, no,
Yeah.
I think that would be but you know what? This and that is far better than the shit that happens in Spider-Man 1, where
So
somehow
Spider-Man one
Oscorp
creates the issue where the fact that this university lab fucking created a super soldier serum and their spider ran away, so it means that if it ends up biting literally anyone else, they're gonna become super soldiers as well. Not to
Was it a
mention that
super?
if they
Is that what
found
they
that
mentioned?
they
The
yeah, so
dang,
if that's the case also, that means they would be able to replicate their super soldier serum, which means that everyone in that universe should have super soldier serum.
dang! I didn't realize. I thought they. I thought. From what I remember, I thought there was just like a random spider that they found.
No,
No,
it
They
was a
no.
created
spider.
it.
They were doing research on the spiders. Actually, I had to look up a lot of that and talk to Shandy about it for my video on where I was responding to Wisecrack,
Right.
talking
Right.
about Legion.
They would have. They should
Uh,
have like a strong cage for that thing.
oh
Um.
yeah, it's just
I
like,
don't
oh,
even
it
know how the
disappears, and
hell
they're
it
like,
escaped.
I
me
don't know. I
either.
don't know if I would say it's like worse than this one, because in this one, like the fact that he bumps into uh Imran Khan and like the
Well,
gigantic
I'd say
tower.
it's worse because in the Spider-Man one, that means that everyone in that universe should have a super soldier serum, whereas in this universe it's accounted for by the fact that it's his own blood that is the only one that works.
Yeah, it seems infinitely
Isn't
more
that infinite?
contrived.
If it's oh, wait. Hold on. Repeat that for me again.
So
It
because in the Amazing Spider-Man
Uh huh.
universe,
Uh huh.
the only person that can become a super soldier from the spider bite is Peter, uh, without any side effects and everything because of the DNA that is inserted inside it. That was Richard's DNA.
Right.
That means
Yeah,
that
that's
it
another
from a
thing I
world building
forgot about.
standpoint, it's much better
Um.
because in Spider-Man 1, that means that that spider who's that still loose, by the way, after it bites Peter, that spider could bite anyone else and create more super soldiers. And the university that is researching it, they should be able to replicate uh, that spider because they're
If
basically
they made the
merging a bunch of
spider, right.
spider DNAs. Not
Right.
to mention it creates a plot hole with the fact that for some reason that spider can just transfer its abilities to humans, whereas they hadn't even started doing research with humans. They even say so in the exact scene, that exact scene.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'm
there's
not
quite a few
gonna.
issues.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go into like Spider-Man one. I've like very little knowledge on that movie. It's been a while. But
Oh yeah.
doesn't that make uh this movie far more contrived if it's only one person out of everybody that could be Spider-Man? I feel like it's
Oh,
far more.
Marcus.
I
I
don't
feel like
think
it's
it's
far more
contrived.
fast. I
No.
feel like it's far more fascinating to have anybody have the ability to be Spider-Man.
I don't know. You
So,
could have that, but I don't think it from this film. Firstly, if you want to have the message that anyone could be Spider-Man, these films reinforce that a lot, especially in Tasm
doesn't
Chu with
feel
the Jorge scenes. It's like being Spider-Man isn't just having these powers; is
Sure.
knowing that if you have the power to protect people, it's your responsibility to do it. So much so that Jorge, puts his life on the line because he thinks he's helping people.
like even Stanley has said this from the very beginning. What makes someone Spider-Man
Hmm.
in the universe? Obviously, they're identified by the powers that they have, but the heroic characteristics is the idea of with great power comes great responsibility. So anyone can be Spider-Man, they just won't share the same abilities. I feel like this story, it kinda creates a more interesting dynamic because it says we're going to give you these powers, but we have to see what you're going to do with it. As opposed to, the other
Yeah,
way
it's
around.
basically seeing if Peter is worthy of being Spider-Man, which takes a while for him in the first time to prove that he can actually be Spider-Man, which is when he saves the kid in the car, which also is another moment that reinforces that idea that anyone could be Spider-Man when he gives him the mask and is like, "Oh, see, this is gonna help you." Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so from that standpoint, like I don't really see that as a like an issue, even if you were to argue from that. But just say that it's more contrived. I wouldn't say so because like does it make sense that Richard would do that to impede Oscorp from using the spiders? Yes. So does that mean that if Peter gets bitten, he's going to be able to he's going to become Spider-Man? So that's what happens.
Well,
Right.
he's going to gain the powers, but that doesn't necessarily
Yeah.
mean he'll be Spider-Man,
Yeah,
right?
but we're just talking about the powers now. Thought.
Sure.
Right,
No.
right, right, right. Okay. Yeah, that's something I'd have to give more thought to if I'm gonna criticize that. That's something I totally forgot about.
Okay.
Um, but that's fair. See what else.
I think people just from the idea of being like, oh, he's the only person who could have become Spider-Man, and he ends up being bitten by the spider. But it's like if you actually look at how we build up to it, everything makes sense from like a character standpoint. Whereas, so if like a character's decisions that are happening are in character, then it's not contrived.
Right. So um these spiders that Peter has run into, are these the
Mhm.
same ones that Richard was doing research on? Surely,
I wouldn't
right?
say the same
They're
ones
using
probably because
yeah, they're
of
using the
life.
same ones because they've been genetically modified
Right.
to have, accentuated abilities. So the
Yeah,
whole
I was
point.
just gonna say, so they're not literally the same ones because
Right.
probably
That
I
maybe like
assume like it's life
reproduce.
cycles, but
Sure.
It's the
like
same breed.
yeah, the same breed,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Same. Like his ancestors were, or their ancestors was the ones that Richard, like some of them
Yes.
left alive. Right. Okay. Um.
Because, by the way, Richard wasn't able to kill all the spiders.
Right. I remember.
In
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
They said that too. So then these spiders are used to make biocable, not for the
Yeah.
purpose of you like curing Alzheimer's or cancer. Um,
Right.
that's like something that they switch over from, or like
Yeah,
in the
because they
second one
find out that they
they
can't continue. They
retcon.
can't continue the research. I assume that Connors was looking into them and realized, oh, we can't actually use them in
So
like
why did Osborn stop doing the research on these things for the
because it was a
more
dead end. I
biological?
assume they could have continued doing the research for years before Connors figured out it was impossible, which is why they move on to reptiles.
Well, yeah,
Uh,
and I would actually say since Connors is working there and he was already the world leader on herpetology, if they run into that dead end, Connors is like, "Hey, we can do the same thing but with lizards." And
yeah,
so I'm sure Oscorp is like, "All right, let's devote our resources there, and then let's not trash the spiders. We can still use this breed to make other things for like the cable, as they said."
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Okay,
Um,
another one bites the dust.
yeah, another one bites the dust.
Uh, just I might have to leave in like an hour because I got to do something for college for tomorrow. But
Oh, you guys do.
yeah. But just let's just keep going. We'll see.
Sure. Just skip into the next part that I see. Um. Oh, Peter finding Dr. Connor's house from the back of the book. That's insane.
Why?
Uh,
Why?
why
He's
would
a public figure, and they're not. So, for example,
I don't think public
um,
figures would have their addresses on the back of a book.
So let's say he didn't have it at the back of a book. Could he have researched it on his computer and found it?
No, I don't think that that's supposed to be public information, especially if you're a scientist working for
What?
Oscorp.
well,
Why?
so if you're a scientist in a leading field, um, having like your address be public knowledge isn't necessarily a bad thing. But let's just say he didn't. Okay. Let's just say the address wasn't on the back of the book. He would have just done what Connors had requested him to do and make a
An
formal meeting.
appointment? Yeah,
Wait, why didn't he do that?
because he
Because
had the address.
yeah,
He doesn't need
he
to
had
do a
the
meeting when
address.
he has the address. Like the thing is, either way, we're gonna arrive at the same point.
Right.
where Peter talks to
I'm just
Connors.
criticizing the way that he does get to that point. That's all. I mean, if
But if
you
it could
want
have
to,
happened in any other like if that hadn't happened, like everything else would still transpire pretty much the same way, considering character motivations at that point. So it's not really like a big issue. At most, it's a nitpick. But even then, I don't think it's impossible for like well, not impossible, I guess.
I definitely wouldn't.
Implausible for him to have his address on a book.
I think that's highly implausible, especially
Oh,
being the leader of
by the way,
herpetology.
that was an older book. So,
But
especially before rise of the internet, having someone's address to like send mail
Letters and
to or
everything.
whatever,
Yeah.
that's pretty
that they would
common.
do a
Yeah, for
PO
people to talk
box.
about his
That's
books, and if it was pre 9/11 as well.
surely if it's an old book, that would be his old address, if anything, especially if he's working for Oscorp.
Wait,
Why would he have
why would he
moved?
moved?
Being a leader at Oscorp, starting to work there after the whole spider debacle is probably going to be something that you would want to do if you're the leader
He
of
was
herpetology.
already employed at Oscorp.
Oh yeah, I guess since Richard was working there, yeah, that's fair.
I don't know why. Yeah,
I
it's
know.
like, oh yeah.
that was just a total like brain fart.
And then
Um,
by the way, if he did move, Peter goes to the old address, it's not him, and then the lady who's there is like, "But this is where he lives now."
Or he
I
Or he
goes like,
just does
okay,
the other
so
thing. So it's like,
I
yeah, he requests an
I
appointment.
still would disagree that it's a nitpick. 'Cause it's how he arrives to give him
Yeah, but I
the
already
address.
said if he would have done the same thing had that not happened, it doesn't change how the plot transpires. It just changes
the
how
method.
he gets to that way, but it doesn't change that it gets to that way.
I'm I'm sorry, what? I didn't get that.
So
So
he's going to arrive at the same point where he's going to end up meeting Connors, whether he has the address from the book or not. Isn't that right? From what we've talked about, how
You're saying like and he would have figured out his address another way. Is that what you're saying?
well, maybe not his address, but maybe he has asks for a meeting
regardless, he's going to
at
get a
Oscorp.
meeting with Connors.
Yeah, he's gonna meet Connors, and if he meets Connors, everything that happens in the film is going to happen the same way. It's just it's not going to be at Connors's house. It's going to be at Peter's. It's going to be maybe at Oscorp or something like that. But the
Sure.
I
same exact
imagine
thing is going to happen.
I imagine the reason they wrote it to be at his house, so it could be a more intimate personal conversation without the distractions
Right,
of
right.
Oscorp.
Yeah,
I don't think that's a flaw on the writing side, considering that the same outcome is going to happen
Okay.
regardless.
yeah,
I
and we've
okay
already
now
talked about
yeah
how.
now I see what you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't classify it as like the biggest problem in the world, but I would still classify it as an issue that he found the address through the back of the book. I would like if he made it to like or if the movie made it to where they just met at Oscorp and they went to his house, I think like that's an improvement already.
Okay.
sure. Yeah.
Really quickly, Marcus, you said you only have about an hour left.
Yeah, around that.
Should I
Okay.
just go ahead and skip to like the bigger?
Well, yeah, I would say I'm really interested to talk about TASM 2 with you because I think
Okay.
that's the more interesting conversation here.
Okay.
Um, Especially if this debate over TASM 1 follows the same pattern. I don't know if these issues are going to hold up, but I'd say go after your biggest ones and then let's go to TASM 2.
Okay. Um. The way that Ben dies is extremely convenient. Considering that he was following, or not even following, he was trying to figure out, um, where Peter was. Like Peter could have been at any point in New York City. The one place that he didn't
He
bump
could not be
into.
at any point in New York City.
How do you mean? Why not?
Peter just left the house.
Well, there's also a passage of time. He went to go to the gas station. So he could have been anywhere.
Well, yeah, he could have been, but we know that Ben has been looking around for a few places, and
Right,
I'd
right. So
imagine just let me finish. I imagine Ben is looking at places he is expecting Peter to go to. Places that they usually him, May, and um, Peter go to, like their day-to-day lives. Because that's just usually how you do. You go if you leave something like that, you're gonna go to a place you're familiar with to
that's I mean
make you
that's not
feel
established, but I mean
It
Well,
doesn't need to
no,
be
no,
established. It's
yeah,
just how
it's
human
a
psychology
reasonable
works.
inference.
Yeah, what I'm saying is you're usually going to go to some place where that is familiar to you. So Peter going to a convenience store that I assume they go to regularly, and Uncle Ben, he happens to get there after looking at other places. He gets there even a lot after Peter is there. So I imagine he was already looking in other streets and
Why
trying to
wouldn't
And
that
find
be
that.
and he's
like one of
not
the
even
first
close
places
to
he
being. He's on
goes?
the other side of the street.
Yeah, and not to mention, couldn't he have just asked people in the street, being like, "Oh, have you seen Peter?" Because I assume it's like just the neighborhood. Ben could have known
That
people, be
that
like,
that
"Have
would
you
have
seen
made it
Peter coming
better.
around this way?" And
That would
let's
have
say
made it
someone says, "Oh, he went around that way," and then he
right.
goes towards the convenience store.
Yeah, that would be far more plausible to like make this scene happen. But he just happens to be in the same spot,
It's
almost
Yeah, but
not
I'm
exact.
talking about
happened to.
how
It's a
that could have
reasonable
happened.
inference.
Yeah, there are quite a few ways where that could have happened. Where that why he would be there, whether it be just because it's a place that he goes to regularly, and that's why he assumes that Peter may have gone there, or he ended up seeing someone asking someone in the middle of the street, "Have you seen where Peter went?" Like there are ways that he could have just happened to have gone there and arrived at the same
I
point.
mean,
And it's not like Ben doesn't have a kind of a clue where Peter's going. Peter runs through and then he takes a right and he's on foot. So he's not going to make it that far. And Ben, after telling May he's going to go,
Mhm.
starts after him. So,
yeah, and then Ben goes past him when Peter's up in the rail. So like they could have been literally at opposite ends of the like
Yeah, but
walk.
then Ben would be like, "Okay, so I already looked at this side. I'm gonna go look at the other side of the street, the other
once
side of
again,
Well, yeah,
the other
Peter
side
they're
of the
both
street."
moving
Peter's a high
constantly.
school kid. He's very close to his aunt and uncle. He doesn't have a propensity for running away.
No,
Um,
I'm not saying
And
that.
so, obviously, if you're a parent in the scenario, you're going to look in familiar places. And Peter does.
Yeah,
He does stay in familiar places. So, really the criticism here is going to be, is Ben going to act like a normal parent and is Peter going to act like a reasonable child? And it seems like they do.
Um, sure. No. I don't disagree that he's like acting in the way like in character. That's definitely not my criticism. It's just the criticism of is like they just happen to be in the same spot. I don't think that
It's
it's
they don't
right.
happen
And
to be in the same
you're
spot.
saying it's like it's a familiar place. I don't think there's anything to establish that. Let alone
It's
like
where they
I think
live.
that's a reasonable inference.
Well, I mean, there's
They go
multiple
there, they get there on
stores.
foot. I'd assume Peter would be just go buy milk at a place there.
Right.
Uh,
Sure that he
the,
would. I
the,
mean, you can have like a quick throwaway line by the guy who runs the shop, like, "Hey,
you
Peter,
can, but I
you know,
don't think it's
I can."
necessary. I think this is going to come down to something that's more subjective, where you think it's necessary for it to be established that way, whereas me and thought we don't. I don't think it would add to the film because we can already infer that. Uh,
Right. I
and I
think
guess it comes down to what you would think is a fair inference. I
I
don't
think
think this is going to be
Mark
very.
Webb is trusting the audience to have the intelligence to be able to deduce that this is the case, and Peter's not going to be in Brooklyn, and then Uncle Ben's going to be in like Times Square. That's just not going to happen. That would be terrible
I
writing.
think if
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
Mark
think.
Webb,
I
I think
think
if that
if
was
you
the
need.
intention, if that was the intention, I would add like just a quick line, like, "Oh shit, like fucking whatever the guy's name is, Ben is like, oh shit, yeah, I'll get him for you, no problem," or something like that. If I
Yeah,
wanted
so
to get
like you
that
said, it's
across,
what you
that's
would
what
do,
something.
what you think it would add to it being a fair inference with me. I don't think it changes all that much. Uh,
Right. So it's fair to like think one or the other way. There's really
yeah, I
nothing to
think
say
if you want
either
to go
way.
by the standards you're using, it's fair. We don't.
Okay.
Me and thought I think our standards for inferring that are a bit different than yours.
Okay.
Okay. Do you have anything else for TASM 1, or do you want to move on to 2?
Yeah, I'm just gonna look through real quick. In TASM 1. Oh, Connor's injecting the green goo into himself, especially as a scientist who's been working on this for 15 years. He would know the dangers of risking his life. I
What's
don't
the
think it's
alternative?
the alternative is
Well, so
not
he's
do
about
that
to
to
lose his
himself.
job
Uh-huh.
and be stripped of everything,
Uh-huh.
His research that he's worked most of his life on.
all of his research.
Right.
And
uh,
so he's
and
presented with.
so
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and it's also one of the things he wants the most is to get his left arm or right arm.
Right.
Yeah, it's right arm. Yeah. Um. So if he gets fired, how how far do you think, how high up do you think he's going to be in the in like human testing, or like only after testing, even for usage of the serum? I think Oscorp would put him very low on the line, simply because of how, I guess, petty could be the right word,
I
that Oscorp is. I think from his perspective, it's like, I can't lose all of this,
I would
and I'm gonna have to
agree.
try it on myself.
I would agree if like could interpret that from his reaction. I think he's like, for example, when Peter shows him the formula,
Yeah.
he barely gives a blank stare to it and just says extraordinary.
What are you
Like,
talking about? He smiles and he says, what does he say?
extraordinary.
The adjective?
Ex- extraordinary. That's what.
Yeah,
Extraordinary, I think.
extraordinary.
Right. There's
And
no. I got no emotion from him at all in terms of like
okay, so hold
you
on.
about to solve my arm's length.
Connors does show emotion, but he's also shown to be kind of more mild-mannered. He's not very, I don't know, charismatic, I guess you would say. I mean, not a lot of people do have that kind of theatrical,
I mean, if you
charismatic, but hold on.
Sure.
If we wanna talk about the actual criticism here, you're saying that you think it's dumb for Connors to take it knowing the risks. Well,
I
he's about to lose all of his research, which is
mhm,
his livelihood at this
mhm,
point, and then all possibility of his arm. Now,
mhm.
Oscorp does give him the opportunity to stay, but once again, he's presented with something unethical, which he thinks is what Oscorp says they're going to do, which is going to be testing it on the veterans without being told, which
Oh
is
yeah, he said he
something
was
that,
gonna say, "Oh, as far as they know, it's only a flu shot."
yeah, as far as they know, it's only a flu shot. So Connors at this point says, I am a man with everything to lose and also kind of everything to gain. So with the proof that this formula has consistently had the potential to work and started working on the mice, it seems reasonable that at this point, kind of an all or nothing scenario, he's going to give himself the jab.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like, either I do this or I lose everything. So he's gonna do it. Also because I think it's actually kind of altruistic, I would say, because if he doesn't, they're gonna go to the veteran. So if he does it on himself, he's being the human subject, which means that other people don't have to suffer. And if it does end up going wrong, and you know, and if it just goes wrong in him, he's not hurting other people, because, well, he doesn't know he's
Well,
gonna turn into like
if
a
it
literal
goes wrong
lizard.
on him, do you think that will stop Oscorp from doing it on veterans?
Yes,
Yes.
because that's how testing works. They were doing it on him to be like, okay, so this is the baseline. It does not
One,
work as
one,
intended.
right? But like, remember the simulation? Like having one failure is not going to be in a
Yeah,
good
but they were
representation of the
testing
population.
different.
They're testing
T-
different formulas.
yeah, it was different formulas applying the same algorithm,
It was the
and
one
then one
algorithm with
sticks.
it was the with Peter. Like they did one
Yeah,
algorithm and
like
then
I said,
like
it's
three
using the same
failures.
algorithm but different formulas. The algorithm is to make sure that
They were doing different algorithms for each test, and then once one of the algorithms worked, that's the one they continually ran,
Uh,
which is what they then gave to the animals. The animal trials proved successful. They're like, "Great, we need to move on to human trials." Say they're gonna do it the veteran. Um, Connors opposes, so he gives himself the jab. It's proved to work. Then Connors gets to keep his job. Oscorp is happy with the research, and then Connors can have more control over the testing from then on, and he doesn't have to do something that he views as morally wrong.
okay, sure, I can concede to that.
Okay.
all right.
You guys are doing very well.
Yeah,
um,
unfortunately, Twitter isn't the best place for debate. So,
dude, tell me about it. Oh my god, I lost brain cells there. This is far more civil.
yeah, no one's been called brain dead yet.
I save that for people who just say that does not work. After I explain to them that it does work.
Almost did that to Madcap, I guess. Almost.
Oh, I
There
got
wasn't
one
an
that does work.
almost.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did say he was moving goalposts. I don't know if I. Oh wait, I did say, are you actually brain dead at one point? I
Yeah,
do
and then he
remember
says, "I'm
that.
not brain dead, dude."
Very
Uh,
good. Very good counter there.
Are you good to move on to TASM 2 now? And then
I
we could potentially pick up the rest of TASM 1 on a different debate? at a different time?
Sure, sure. Yeah,
Okay,
that's fine
cool.
with me. Okay.
Sweet.
I do want to compliment like Phantasm 2, the coolest swinging scene in any Spider-Man movie, easily.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, fuck, I
especially near
love
The
the
the end.
shit out
visuals
of
in TASM 2 are
that. I
still unmatched to this day. The CGI is fucking insanely good.
Yeah, there's a couple moments with Electro I'm like, but then everything else is pretty great. Um, especially the floppy suit when it's through the wind. That's probably my favorite part.
Yeah, they did a lot of work um
So
with the physics.
yeah, with the beginning of Spider-Man 2, the intro scene where he's doing the action stuff. Um, Spider-Man's kind of out of character by talking to Jamie Foxx
I
rather than
debated that so much yesterday.
All
really.
right, Marcus, do you
I'm
want to
sorry.
take this one?
No, I don't. I don't want to repeat myself. If you want, I can interject, but if you want to explain
Okay.
yourself,
Okay, so let's break it down slowly, one by
Okay.
one.
Okay.
What exactly do you think is the issue here, and why?
Spending too much time with one civilian rather than worrying about the safety of civilians with the trucker, like the danger with the trucker.
Okay, so let's presume something for a second. Okay,
Okay.
do you think that a disgruntled citizen trying to pick up their blueprints in the middle of a busy New York road is a traffic hazard?
Uh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Do you think that Spider-Man is in character by doing something where he knows for sure he can save a life?
Yeah, that's in character.
Okay. So Spider-Man does not know he can save the lives of the people that Alexei is crashing through, although he tries his best. He knows for sure he can save Max,
Uh huh.
and if he leaves Max after just catching him
Uh huh.
to go after his blueprints in the road, not only that will that cause a traffic hazard where more accidents could happen, but Max could get hit again
Because he's
because it
on the
happens
sidewalk
very.
though.
No, he's not. He helps him on the road, and then he
yeah,
picks
they're
him
still
up.
in the middle of the street. Yeah,
Yeah.
and yeah,
Oh,
and
why?
then he's even flustered after Peter gets him. It's not like she's just composed. So at that point, if let's say he's frozen in the middle of the street, car driving by could end up hitting him or trying to swerve around and end up flipping. That shit can happen.
So
And
he
and for example, later in TASM 2, we know that New Yorkers don't really care about traffic because like when Peter
right.
was walking through the street to get to Gwen,
Mm-hmm.
he knocks the mirror off of one of the cars because
So
they
That was
don't.
hilarious.
um uh in when he does save Jamie Foxx, he never really takes him off the road. So he's still on
Yeah,
the
but
road by
the
the time
point
he
is that he
leaves.
composes him to a point where he can get himself off the road.
Right, and he also picks up the blueprints so he doesn't
Yeah, and
have
he
to go
picks up the
farther out
blueprint,
into
so
the
he doesn't
road.
have to go after them. Yeah, uh, yeah. It should get him composed to a point where he can think clearly. Otherwise,
You think does
he could
you
cause.
think okay. All right, I won't push back too much on that one.
Okay.
Got
All right.
bigger ones to face. Um, Peter seems like more of an angsty teen than a conflicted person with how he's making decisions with Gwen and
How do you mean?
his dad. So he makes a decision at the end of TASM 1 to like spend time with Gwen, and then he doesn't, and then
Well, not exactly that. So sorry. Captain Stacy, he says, you don't get my daughter involved because that could potentially put her at risk, considering
right.
Peter being a superhero, and he knows his own daughter. He knows that she would want to be involved with helping Peter
Mm-hmm.
because, well, she even was in TASM 1 involved. She was at Oscorp
Mm-hmm.
when Peter teams up with Captain Stacy. So he says to him that not to get her involved, which fair enough. And then Peter's like, yeah, I'm not going to get her involved, but we know how much Peter loves her, but he's very very scared of putting her in danger. He doesn't want to do that. And so in TASM 2, we see the film starts with them together. But
Mm-hmm.
when they talk, and Gwen is like,
Are those
uh,
sirens?
what? Oh no, I wasn't even going to say that. I was going to say in the Chinese place scene.
Oh,
Uh,
well, no, go even before that. Go to the when he sees
yeah, but
Captain
that's a
Stacy.
good point. Yeah, when he answers her call after when he's doing the truck chase, uh, she's like, "Oh, are those sirens?" And Peter tries to cover it up, and she's like, Peter," being like, "Oh shit, you tell me the truth," because she's um
Yeah,
I scared
yeah.
for him, I guess. And so Peter, with that in mind, and he sees Captain Stacy, and he's like, "Oh shit!
Hmm.
Like I'm doing what I promised not to do." Uh, and it seems like he has been trying to juggle these two aspects of his life, for a while, which established later when Gwen breaks up with him.
Hmm.
Um, that he's trying really hard to balance his life where to a point where he can be Spider-Man but not put her in danger, but then
Hmm.
realizes that he can't, and that's why he breaks up with her.
Right.
Well, she breaks up with him. That
She can't
she's like,
handle it.
okay, I can
Right.
keep doing this. That we keep breaking up and getting back together all the time.
Right.
And then later, when we had that scene just before the Times Square fight,
Hmm.
she's like, have you been following me? She if she figures out that he has, I think that is a very fair thing for Peter to do, because like he says, because what he would definitely want to do is to be with Gwen, but he can't, and that's what he says. Is that like, that's as close as I can get to you,
Right.
uh
Right.
without
I really like
hurting
that.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he also says, to make sure she's safe, which is
Hmm.
also a thing he would definitely want to do.
Hmm.
Even if he doesn't, talk to her here anymore, he would want her to be safe.
Right.
Um, so all of that, I think, is like following pretty straight that same logic of like him wanting to get back together with her, but being conflicted with that because he doesn't want to hurt her,
Hmm.
and end up losing her, or her end up losing him, and end up hurting her, the same way that
He
Captain
did with
Stacy
Captain Stacy.
died
Right.
because of him.
Right.
Yeah. So what do you have?
Oh
What
yeah.
do you have
Well,
an
my
issue with
my
if
my
it's the same?
criticism was like just like over the movie. By the end of it, he gets back together with Gwen and says, "I'm gonna follow you." I think that's out of character for him. I think he'd be way
Well,
more
he's trying to
against
figure
doing.
out if he can juggle his two lives, and part of of a lot of that arc is for Peter to figure out that Gwen has her own agency to a point where he can't really stop her from trying to help him. And if
Right.
something happened to her, if she's trying to help him, it's because it's her choice. Which is
They
made
make a big
very
point
explicitly
out.
clear. Yeah, when she says, "This
Yeah.
is my
Yeah.
choice, mine."
Yeah.
So I think Peter, at that moment, he realizes, I can't keep trying to push her away, especially because Gwen, when they break up, she says, "So because you can't lose me, we can't be together. Who does that work out
I was
for?"
just thinking of that line. Yeah.
Yeah, it's trying to figure out. Peter's trying to figure out who he can be, if he can be Spider-Man and Peter at the same time, and he doesn't know how to. And then at that point, at the end of the film, he has to realize that he's both, and that he can't just stop everything from happening. He can't be someone who has the weight of the entire world on his shoulders. So if Gwen wants to help him, and Gwen, through her own agency, she's going to want to help him. He can really do anything to stop her. And by
Let
that
me
point, he's like, "I want to be with you no matter what." And yeah,
let
you
me
want to say
let me
something?
add on to that really quick. So another big part of the film is Peter wondering why he keeps losing everyone in his life. And
Hmm.
part of one of the events that catalyzed him choosing to be back with Gwen is having the conflict with Harry, not being able to give him his blood, which is um when he goes to Oxford and stops Gwen, and Gwen's like, I gotta go. Like, everyone that he loves is slipping through his fingers at
Hmm.
that point. So at that point, he really does have to make the decision, who does it work out for? Who am I going to choose? And that's why he ends up choosing Gwen.
Would it? I feel like he already figured out that if he does choose Gwen, like she will be in danger the rest of her life. I feel like
Yeah, but
that's
Yeah,
but the
she may
whole
be
thing
in
terrible.
was
danger, but that's the
he
point, is
said
that
she's
it's,
okay with that.
yeah,
Well, she would
she's
still be going
okay
to
with.
Oxford. She would be going to Oxford, right?
She'd
Yes.
still be going to
Regardless,
Oxford, yeah, which
and
is
he
why
would
he
he
said
would.
he'd follow her to England.
Yeah, I'm
I
gonna
feel like
follow you
that's
everywhere.
I feel like that's out of character for him to go to Oxford and rather
Why?
than staying because
He's not going
the
to Oxford, he's just going to
Yeah, he's going
England.
to England, but
right
why is he
to
out of
England. That's what I meant.
character?
Because he would have to be leaving his city, the one place
Yeah.
he's protecting.
Yeah, but he can protect other cities. Like he says, there's crime in other cities. He doesn't know that the fucking Sinister Six is
Right,
gonna
right, right, right.
exist.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
that's the kind of thing where we only know for like
Oh,
meta knowledge that like there would be Sinister Six.
at this point, there is no big villain. Electro hasn't escaped,
Yeah,
and Harry
Electro
hasn't
is
become
Right, right, yeah.
Goblin.
imprisoned, and
Electro's in prison.
Harry doesn't exist at this point
Sure,
in Peter's
sure.
mind.
The only thing he'd be leaving is Aunt May.
Yeah, which
okay.
I don't think is even out of
No.
character, because that means she wouldn't need to take care of
She wouldn't have
paying
to
for
work 2
college for
jobs
him.
anymore.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I did think like Gwen dying is a pretty great payoff. I really like that.
It is a great payoff.
Yeah,
It's a great death.
pretty well set up in the end of the first one and well reminded. That's the theme I was talking about in TASM 2. That I noticed kind of surprised me, honestly.
Oh yeah, it definitely does have a lot of the theme of time, not even of time.
Yeah.
Which I quite like, and quite a lot, all the themes of identity as well, and themes of trying to live accept your legacy and your past.
Yeah.
There's quite a few that's the film does that I quite appreciate.
Yeah, I appreciate that too, and that's something I was like surprised. I thought it was way worse than before I watched it.
Oh yeah, a lot of people think the film is way more shallow than it actually is.
Yeah. Okay. On to Max. It's kind of comical, like unrealistically comically a loner.
How do you mean?
So where is it in my notes?
No, I'd say for me he's the same as Arthur Fleck in Joker. He doesn't really relate to anyone, and nobody can relate to him. And he finds it hard to talk to other people and have a normal relationship to a point
Other
where
people
he
take
still
advantage
has-
of his excesses.
Well, he still has like his mom. He still has people he works
His
with.
mom
that
who's dying, who hates him.
what his I don't think his
oh
mom
that's
hates
all
him.
in deleted scenes, isn't it? Thought
Yeah, it's in deleted scenes, but I don't know. Like
Hates him. Jesus,
we
I'm
know
glad
she's
that's deleted.
sick at least.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah, and he still had like
but even
his
then,
coworkers.
if his what the yeah, don't they say in the film that his mom doesn't care for him during that van scene where they're spying on Peter and
Yes,
Harry?
yes, yeah, they do.
They say, yeah, I'm gonna check the exact Amazing Spider-Man 2 transcript.
Oh, was that Joker or Amazing Spider-Man 2?
Oh, the Amazing Spider-Man 2, yeah. I'm not talking about Joker specifically.
When they're going through the pictures of Electro's charred body while they're spying on Harry and Peter at the pier.
Oh, okay. What about that again? I kind of missed it.
Donald Mencken, the guy who fires Harry, he's kind of the
Yeah.
evil mastermind behind
Right,
Oscorp.
right.
He talks shit about Electro.
Oh yeah.
Maxwell Dillon, nor associates or friends to speak of. The guy was invisible.
Right, so he was invisible, even though he's like incredibly intelligent, built the grid for Oscorp.
Yeah,
That's
the
but
whole
that's
point.
kind of the point where he is because of his mental issues, people take advantage of him to a point where everyone sees him as pathetic, even though he's really smart. But nobody believes that he's smart because of how pathetic they believe him to be, which is kind of
He's kind of already like a schizophrenic. Like he has the
Yeah, he's like-
voices in his head before he turns into Electro.
Is he supposed to have a mental? I thought he was just kind of weird.
No,
didn't
he
know.
has
he
the
definitely
mental
has
illness.
mental illness. Yeah, especially with how he latches onto that parasocial codependent relationship with
Right. I
Spider-Man.
thought that was just a parasocial thing. You don't have to be retarded to or mentally ill. Excuse me.
Well,
No,
you don't have to be, but he clearly is. Yeah.
He shows all of the characteristics of schizophrenia and antisocial disorder.
Yeah.
And Oscorp takes advantage of that with his intelligence. And then also a big part of his character is a very intense desire to be seen. Which is
also
pretty common
narcissistic
for
personality disorder.
narcissistic, which is why like it's like he almost becomes catatonic when he sees his face on the billboards.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah.
To a point where
yeah,
he takes huge offense on not being in the billboards anymore, which
right.
I will say is an issue, but a very small one that literally every billboard shows is Electro. Like it wouldn't change anything if it was just one or two, but the fact that it's all of them, it's like that's
I
It
mean,
was
that
just a
doesn't make sense.
visual thing, but
Yeah, it's just visually showing it, like just dramatizing it.
yeah. They don't. I don't think they do that in real life, but let's say it's
Yeah.
just that universe.
Yeah, it's a thing that EFAP took huge issue with, but it's like it doesn't ultimately matter
the
because if it
same
was just
thing
one
would
or
have
two,
happened. The
Yeah,
same thing would have
it's
happened.
only true, you know, because it's a film. It's trying to be more dramatic.
Yeah, I think if they wanted to make it more realistic, they would just have cameras on him and him notice that. That'd make it better,
That could
honestly.
work as well. Yeah.
Um,
Though I think the visual of him looking at himself on a billboard is quite powerful from like a visual, like cinematography standpoint.
right. That's where it's like, are you trying to ground the movie or are you trying to make it more unrealistic?
Well, you can have a film be grounded, but have like a few
Un-
unrealistic aspects. Like you can have something like that. It's just, yeah, ultimately it is kind of a bit over the top.
yeah.
But the film, at points, it does get pretty goofy, but it also does remain pretty grounded. I'd say more of a like character writing standpoint, it's pretty
And
grounded, but
and
with a
it
lot of it,
never
it is.
sacrifices realism when it gets goofy, which is good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like the tooth gap. People take huge issue with it. And it's like, oh yeah, does it contradict anything? No, it's just
No,
a
I
thing.
love
Oh, it
dogging on
closes his
that.
tooth gap, which symbolizes him being fixed by the eels. It's like
Yeah.
I don't,
Do eels not have
I don't.
tooth caps? Wait, that's confirmed
The
now.
eels do not have tooth gaps. We have we have made
Confirmed
this
half
discovery.
eel. Okay. People blame Monster Heart. Okay. Where is the Mac? Oh, him being getting his powers I think is insanely out of character for his intelligence. Stepping over an open tank without any electricity. Sorry, that was a my stream is fucking with me. Um, fucking
So hold
smudge.
on, I know where you're going with this. That it's out of character.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he wants to get home as fast as soon as fast as humanly possible because it is his birthday. He's already annoyed and pissed off because he's supposed to be kept late. The guy he called said he wasn't going to do it.
Right.
The tank was open, but there was scaffolding above it. So, ultimately at that point, he's just like, fuck it.
Well, it's a thing. I think electrical engineers will be better to talk to about this to be certain. But I don't think they would expect to be shocked doing that. It's just a precaution to turn it off, and so much so that he isn't shocked at first. It's just afterwards. Um,
Right.
so
I mean, there's already a rubber casing around where he grabs. It was
Yeah,
just the
it's
fact
yeah,
that it
molesting.
was.
I think he was just like, okay, so this is probably nothing, but as always, because he's an electrical engineer, they take
He,
precautions with that kind
yeah.
of shit. But then it ends up, he thinks it's a negligible risk, to the point where he's okay with doing it. Uh,
I think that negligible risk is like super out of character for him, especially with like how cautionary he is with
well,
everything.
the,
It's
the
kind of
what
like
I'm talking about
perfectionist.
is like if it's considering his mental state at that point, how he has been made fun of all day, especially being his birthday and nobody's taking his birthday seriously, nobody caring about him. At that point he's like, okay, I just want to get home, and he calls it, and like the person doesn't even want to help him. I think he would be like, okay, so let's just do this and get home, and the chances of it shocking me are really low, to a point where I'm just going to do it anyway. Like in that's at least how I feel the scene, that he doesn't think the risk is that big, but he calls the guy anyway because it is a precaution.
It would be one thing if you had multiple open wires that you had to rewire. This is the equivalent of like having, your computer being unplugged from the wall
Right.
outlet.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
I would still say it's a little out of character for him to be like stepping the way that he is on the like right above the tank. Why isn't the
Once
tank like
Well,
again,
he needs
covered?
to do it to reach the cable, doesn't he?
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
like
But like,
what else is he gonna do?
I mean, he could leave and not do
Yeah,
your
but once
job.
again, it's like
It's
that
not.
that makes the
That would be
situation worse for him.
weird for him. Right. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, I would say I have an issue though in that scene with the grates being so weak when he falls through them. That's the thing. I think that's a bit contrived.
I think it's
I
weird that
think
it's
they
not covered.
sacrificed realism for neat editing at that point so they could do it all in one
Yeah,
shot.
because they merged two shots there, which I think is cool, but from
You,
a writing standpoint, it's like that's weird.
you guys think it's a bit of an issue that the tank isn't covered with like a grate of some sort?
I don't think so.
So
No,
that's
they have to feed the animals, and then they have
And
to constantly
eels
have
need
air.
oxygen as well.
well. I mean,
Eels need oxygen. They
you
need
can
to go
have
to the
like a
surface.
You can have a grate, like you still have
Well, the
oxygen
thing is,
pass
there are
through.
grates over it. Like I said, the issue is that the grates are
Weak.
weak. Well, like it being open is not the issue. The issue is that the grates that are over it are way too weak.
Oh, there were grates on top of it. I could have sworn.
Well, those are the grates that Electro falls over. Falls from, yeah, on.
There's just
Are
a
those
couple feet
are
of
those? Sorry, go ahead.
So there's just a couple feet of space above them, and then there are grates, but that space is so that they can feed the eels and then monitor the eels and then take them out. It's like if they have a dedicated grate there, that's adding a lot of room for it to be able to open where they have to be placing other things anyways, along with all the other wiring. I think the way they have it is fine already. It's like 15 feet off the air, and then they
Yeah.
already have the scaffolding above. Like
Oh yeah,
it
there's
seems
like
pretty
3
reasonable.
floors of grates he goes through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which
Okay.
would have been
Okay.
finer
Yeah.
if it was like a bigger distance that it falls from. But yeah.
Is the It seems like the there is no like railing between the walkway and the opening of the
Yeah,
cage.
right,
So
which is
like
why it's
yeah,
like that's the job you send the stupid guy to go do.
I mean, you'd still have like I feel like you'd still have a rail there anyway, but
I'm just. Are you
anyway.
showing it on your stream so I can check where
Yeah, yeah,
you?
yeah.
Okay, so hold on. So
That is a
where?
bit of a step, but you know.
Yeah, what point are you saying that there is no railing?
So just right up. I'll go through
Can stream
one.
is lagging for me. That's cringe.
Here, I'll pause it. I think it's E for frame. Yeah, there we go. So there's
Okay.
like, do you see that walkway? The railing is
Yes.
on like the outer part of it, where I would definitely have it on the inner part. And just
Hold
fall
on, because
straight
it
through.
froze again. Just hold on. I just want to make.
Yeah.
Can you send me like a screenshot of
Oh
the
yeah,
shot you're
sure.
Hold
talking
on,
about?
You know,
hold
yeah,
Because
on.
I
let me.
think that would be
Okay,
better than
so
me watching the
so
stream.
I see no, so there is. There definitely is. Um Let me
There you
send
go.
a photo to the chat.
Okay.
Give me 2 seconds.
I sent one through the chat if you
Oh,
want
so
me
you're
to
saying
use
it
that
should
one.
be on the inside? Well,
Right.
they would need to feed and shit like that. I don't think you would have on that side.
Yeah, I
Like
don't think you'd have it
I
on the other side.
Yeah, because you need to, let's say you need to, for example, take one of the eels out of the enclosure. How would you do that if there is railing? It's going to be way
you just have
harder.
like one opening where you could like there's a ladder or something like that.
I guess that could work. Yeah.
Just for
I mean,
general.
that ultimately doesn't ultimately matter, right? Because
Potentially,
like
it's like
I
none
mean,
of that affects anything.
I guess not, but like yeah, no, that's fair.
we are not experts on
Yeah, this is the kind of thing
eel
that I think we should.
enclosure.
Yeah,
It's
we should
just
talk to
set
like a
building.
zoo or something like that to be sure. I'm not
Yeah.
exactly sure exactly
Well,
how
so
this would.
I mean, here's another thing. Like when you go to a zoo, the only thing separating you from the lion enclosure is like a 4 foot high railing. Like to be fair. So
Yeah, yeah, that's where more for children than it is for adults.
right.
Yeah.
So if it's different, but I don't think it's
Yeah,
that big of an
I
issue.
know. I you'd assume that the people who would be handling these
Are
uh,
professionals.
yeah, they're professionals, so they wouldn't, and probably would be wearing suits that are made for in case they fall in, to make it easier in terms of access,
Right,
so
right,
that they
right.
don't need to build it like that. Like it's just assuming a lot of it because it's like it's never shown because it's such a small part of the you know
Yeah,
the the film. It's just like a few frames.
I guess we can both agree that just the Gracie falls through is too
Are
weak.
weaker than they should be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um.
They haven't had proper upkeep. So far the biggest issue in TASM 2 is grades that aren't very strong. All right.
I mean, that was the only issue I had from
Yeah,
when we watched
Yeah,
it.
I'm just
I
yeah.
know. It is the only issue with them.
Oh, Max is about to get cremated, but is just laying on the what do you call it? The gurney? I don't know what do you call it.
Well, you
And they
can
have
assume
like
a few things. So there are
they
two
have the
things I want to talk about in terms of that scene. So firstly, you can just assume, for example, that the guy who was there fucking went to take a shit or some shit. Like,
Oh,
could just not
I
be
have a
there that moment.
screenshot. I know exactly why he isn't being cremated at this moment,
Oh
and I
no,
just
yeah, and then
wanna
I was gonna say there is a scene, deleted scene, where there is someone that was going to cremate him, but when he touched Electro's body, he was electrocuted and
Well, no,
ended
you
up
see
dying.
his body on the ground in the scene. You don't need the
Oh, can you
deleted
actually
scene
see his
for that.
body?
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because I never noticed his body. I always tried to look for it and never found it. So if you do
Yeah,
actually have
it's
it in the scene,
hold
then
on, let me
just
see
send
if
a
I can
screenshot.
find the frame.
Yeah, I'm looking through it too.
Yeah, because he does get electrocuted. So there is a deleted scene where he's talking to that dude from the van, and the dude says like, "Yo, we gotta get rid of him. And we can't have like the attention call to ourselves and something like that." And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cremate him." And then when he reaches for the body, Electro's body electrocutes him. Um, so if you want to take that deleted scene as canon, that would be the exact explanation. And if we do actually end up seeing his dead body, then that already implies everything anyway. So
Oh,
Okay,
see,
I wasn't able to find where his dead body is. However, we do have this, which even if we didn't have that other stuff to go by, um, is still a pretty big deal.
yeah, the thing is,
I
he
mean,
could have.
like,
I would just like I think that his body could have been laying there, and as people were taking care of other stuff, and then he ends up waking up. I
So
don't think it's like that far fetched.
at this point, his body is smoking. I
Oh,
don't
that's a
think
good point. Yeah.
you're gonna try to cut open his body when it's like that.
oh,
Well,
why
are
would
you
they cut
saying like
open his
they would
body?
autopsy or some shit?
Yeah.
They already have
Which
the crematorium, like the fires
yeah,
on. They're about to put him in,
well,
or
yeah,
they
but that
don't.
doesn't mean that you can't autopsy. Maybe it could have been because you're
In
cremating
fact,
another body.
there
It's
are
just like you said,
autopsy
it's crematorium.
tools there ready to use.
Why would they do
Yeah,
an autopsy if they're trying to cover up everything anyway?
because they want to find out more of how this came to be. Like they want to cover it up, and like people, they don't want people to know uh, about it. But that doesn't mean that Oscorp just denies having more information on their own side. Like that seems like something they wouldn't do. They would want that information, especially if they can replicate it to a point where it ends up helping their research on other aspects.
Which is why they collect photos there as well.
Yeah, yeah, they take photos of his cremated body. Yeah,
I'm
or
sorry,
before they cremate him.
they're trying to collect information after he's died. What do you mean by
Yeah,
that?
that's why you do autopsies. If you like this, considering he
Oh,
has a blue body, it would be
sorry.
interesting to know exactly what he is. So if you could autopsy and see how his body is
Oh,
working
and
from the inside.
actually, here's another potential scenario.
Hmm.
He is covered in chars at this moment.
Uh-huh.
They might have tried to put him in the fire already.
No, that's all. Like as soon as they like, you can see his body in the tank. It's the same way.
Yeah, but that
Um,
doesn't mean that they didn't put him in the
yeah.
crematorium.
Oh, you think they took him out of the crematorium and wrapped him?
Yes, they could have to try to stop the smoke from coming
I
out of his
think.
body, to try to get through the
And then do
those
an actual
chars on his body, and
autopsy, which
then
is why they have the
just
tools out.
yeah, which I imagine is like, oh, so let's see what's actually happening, and then they do an autopsy.
I
And in
figured.
fact,
Is that because the body is smoking? Is that what you're saying? Or is it because it's
yeah.
Uh,
charred?
I
Well,
think that could, but yeah,
like the screenshot I sent, he's not smoking, and then the lights like fucking rage
The
out, and then he's
screenshot I
smoking.
sent, he is in fact smoking.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yours
yeah,
is
yeah.
from further away to be harder
Right,
to
right,
make
right.
out the
So
smoke.
so in between those scenes, like the lights flicker and everything freak out, and then he's smoking.
Okay,
That's
Hold
so
on.
I figured that he's just
I mean
smoking
it could
because
be
he's
that as
freaking
well,
out.
but I think you can infer it either way.
I really think
And
that's just
the way we
VFX difference,
yeah,
not
and
necessarily.
also like the way we infer it, it's fairer to the film, I'd say. Which I don't know about you, but I always just you go by the fact that inferences should always help the film, unless it's impossible, and it ends up being a plot hole. I'd
Uh,
say like inferences are always like you have to be the most charitable possible.
I
I'll
think
tell you what, between the scene of Electro waking up and Harry turning into Goblin, Mark Webb could totally do a body horror film.
Oh yeah,
oh yeah, definitely.
love that Harry scene.
Yeah, and then
Really
there's
quick,
no
just
like,
a
sorry.
question for Marcus. Marcus, does Sandhill sound like studio or am I crazy?
He does. I was trying to figure out who he sounds like. He definitely sounds like Studio.
The studio must be one handsome motherfucker then.
I'm
Um,
still confused about Studio's race because Marcus has sent me mixed signals on that.
Yeah, that was sorry.
That was a rough night.
That was funny.
Moving on, what's next?
yeah, there's no like, I guess, um, sorry, security. When Electro leaves or anything like that, there's nothing to show for that. It's just kind
I
of
mean, it's just a
time skip.
Well,
morgue.
Yeah, I
yeah, at
guess.
first, yeah, it's just
Well,
a
I mean,
morgue.
isn't
They're trying to keep it
it
low
like
key, right? So if they have security, more people will be looking at you like that, and they assume he's just dead. Uh,
Oh yeah, and then the
um,
horror movie thing you were talking about. You think they should have put it? That I think that would have been cool.
I mean, yeah, it's
Him
just
freaking
like
out.
imagine, like even if there was security, let's say off screen there is security, like just outside the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
They could have just gotten electrocuted by Electro by just trying to reach him.
Right. It's
Uh,
just kind of
just as he like walks through the door and then they get electrocuted, and then the scene plays out the exact same way.
For example,
Right.
you know, that's totally true, but I think that would bloat the film because we don't need that to know that that's what would happen.
Yeah, I think it's
You
just
don't
like
need that,
whether
but
there was
like,
security or not, he could have gotten out of there and went to Times Square.
I will say, I would definitely put that in. 'Cause I think that would be a cool scene.
Oh yeah, it could be cool.
Yeah.
I would
I
definitely
mean,
like to watch that,
I think
but I'm not
seeing
sure for pacing it would
Electro,
work.
yeah, I think Electro torturing the mortician, well, not torturing, but killing the mortician, um, you know, it
Mhm.
fits in the story, but I think they cut it because it's tonally inconsistent with the rest of the scene. Like, the mortician is super silly, goofy, kinda like Kafka,
Yeah, and
Oh,
this scene is
is
supposed
that
to be like
the
the
Electro
deleted
has
horror.
scene?
been reborn and he's like scared of what he's become, but also kind of fascinated, uh,
Is
which
that
I
the
think
deleted
is
scene you're
way
talking
too
about?
grounded. No, we're talking about this scene right after he wakes up, where he's like the tool falls on him, and then he looks at his hand and he sees that it's blue.
Oh, gotcha. Yep,
Yeah.
that's fair. Okay, just gonna skip like the bigger ones. I have a lot of notes that I just took through the movie. Harry figuring out everything about what like the secret stuff uh by randomly dropping the cube on the correct desk.
Well,
Uh,
it is his desk, and it is a cube that his
Which
dad.
was Norman's desk.
Yeah. So
right.
if
It
let's
like
say, so it's not
pricks
a
him or
random
something
desk;
like
it is
that.
his desk, isn't it? So I don't.
And then I get the whole him dropping it, but that's also assuming that he never once would ever that night set the cube down.
Yeah, on the
Like,
desk. It's like, is it possible? Is it? Do you think it is likely that he would have set this cube down on that desk
Oh
during
yeah,
that
no,
night,
I
considering it
think
is his desk? So
I just
I don't
find
know.
it
I think
silly
it's just
that he
that is
did
the
it
way
like
that it
that.
happened, as opposed to some other way.
and I'll
Like
actually say I like that it happens that way because so Sandhill, let's say
statue
you're the
is.
writer in this scenario.
Mhm.
You don't want to blow up the film, but you want to communicate information as naturally as possible.
Mhm.
If we see him starting to notice his wound in the reflection, and he has the cube in his hand at the same time, we can naturally assume that at some point the cube would have ended up down. So in this moment, you combine the secret information reveal with him seeing the disease starting to spread. So it's
Yeah, two
just
birds
better
with one
screenwriting
stone. Yeah,
utility.
yeah. You're utilizing your time better
I would have just
because the
had
runtime's good.
Felicia be able to look through that thing like a USB. I thought it was just extra stuff they didn't need to do, but you could have done that too. Have
What do you
Felicia.
mean?
Well, remember when he says like Felicia look through all this stuff for me, and then
Oh, he's not talking about the cube.
what? What is he talking about then?
He's just talking about the Oscorp lawyer shit. Like he's not talking about the cube.
What lawyer stuff would he be referencing? He says like Felicia,
I'm
give
not
me
sure
all the
exactly at
files
what
on this
point in the
thing.
film you're talking
Oh,
about.
he's
Actually,
talking
So
about
like
when
toward the
all
beginning.
he's like, Felicia works for me, so everybody on this table looks for Felicia, and then he says,
uh-huh.
"I want to see every file on this list," and he points to the table. He's
Oh yeah,
not
so it
talking
has
about.
something. It's something to do with being a CEO of
Uh,
Oscorp. We don't exactly know what it is. It's
I
just
think
something
that's
that
just
has to do with
business
it.
shit, not necessarily the
Yeah,
cube.
which doesn't relate to the plot.
oh,
So
I
it's
thought
why we
okay.
don't know exactly what it is.
I
And
thought
then
he was
also, it'd
pointing
be out
towards the
of
cube thing.
character for Harry to say that because he already doesn't trust these people, and his dad said that this is everything that he did to stay alive, and these
Yeah, I don't know
people.
why he would mention it in front of everyone.
Oh yeah,
He doesn't
yeah,
want those people to know about the cube.
yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
I just misread that, I guess.
Seems to happen a lot with this film.
You guys definitely stand your ground very well.
Well,
Thank
thank you.
Is my audio okay on this end? I feel like I sound a
Yeah.
little loud, but okay.
No, you're
No, you
great.
sound fine.
Find it really convenient that Gwen was the only person like in the world to pay any sort of attention to Max, and then also be able to deduct that, like figure all the stuff out afterwards and be able to help Spider-Man.
Okay.
I
So
find
let's break that down.
all
So
because
they
they
work on
ran
the
into
same
each other.
building, right?
Right, they ran into each other in the
Yeah.
randomly.
So would that happen eventually at any point of them working together?
Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
yeah,
obvious.
sure.
That could have happened, right? That doesn't seem like unlikely that they could have run into each other. So is it in character for Gwen to care about people?
Yes.
Like
Mhm.
no matter what, no matter
Mhm.
it just she sees someone and she like doesn't have any biases against them. She just and all she really does is just that she remembers his name at that point. Um, and he's a very peculiar guy, don't you think? The way he talks to her,
Mhm.
where he's like,
To be Spider-Man.
to be Spider-Man and be seen, it must be cool to be seen by everyone. And he saved my life once. Uh, and it's like that kind of shit would I'd say make an impression on Gwen, considering her relationship to Spider-Man herself.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
She says something like, "Oh, doesn't that feel nice?" or something like that. It's a
Yeah,
good
that must
little.
feel nice.
yeah, that
Yeah,
must feel nice, yeah, because she just broke up with him.
yeah.
And so, so her remembering Max's existence, I'd say that's fine. And then when we get to the Times Square scene, she knows that. Well, that guy says that his name is Max during that scene,
Mm-hmm.
during the Times Square scene, and she hears him say that that he was saved by Spider-Man in the elevator scene, and in
Right,
that scene he's like, "Oh, we've met before," and Peter's like, "Oh shit, yeah, your name is Max," and she
right.
hears all that. So if she hears all that, wouldn't she recognize Max and be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is the same
Like
Max"?
that stuff afterwards is fine. I find I just that the point that they did like meet up right before everything happened is what I'm
Well, that's kind of
criticizing.
like for filmmaking convention, but she could have met him any other time, and she happened to meet him
I
just
think I
before it
think
happened.
if they like established a relationship beforehand, I think that would be far better. But the fact that they conveniently
I
had
don't think
like
it's
meet up right
necessary
before.
because it's not convenient that they happen to meet on the last day as opposed to meeting on the first day. It's just like, yeah, that happened to be that way, and it doesn't change the plot whether it was now or if they had met a year ago. Um, well, not a year ago, but during the time from Peter saving Max and after that.
So I think you could also, instead of doing that, you could have like a partner or a coworker or something like that do the same stuff that Gwen does. That would make the film far less convenient, make more sense.
You add
In terms
another
of an
character into the film as opposed to have Gwen deal with it,
right,
and
right.
it,
Instead
it
of
makes as much sense. It's just they end up meeting because they work on the same
well,
building.
it makes sense after they meet up. Yeah, everything after that like makes sense, natural. But the fact that they meet up right before everything happens is what I'm criticizing. The convenience that happened.
Yeah,
Rather than
like I said,
if you
it's not
had,
really convenient when they could have met before. They could have met
I would have met,
later on in that day,
I would have
which
had
wouldn't change the plot. It's just like they happen to meet because they work on the same building, which is plausible that they would end up meeting.
right. They work in the same building, but like completely different levels. They're completely different kinds of
Okay,
workplace
no,
people,
hold
and
on. The
it's like
whole thing is they're
300.
taking an elevator down. That's it. I mean up. Like Gwen works on a certain floor, Max works on a certain floor. They're going to separate floors. They're going to take the same elevator at some point, especially if they work at similar times, which they do. So I don't see why it's out of the realm of possibility.
Um, it's not out of the realm of possibility. I think it's just really convenient. I think it's if you had like a coworker
Okay, so hold on,
do
hold
the
on.
same thing.
Here's convenient. All right.
Okay.
Convenient is Gwen going to the store and getting milk, and Max happens to be getting milk at the same time.
Yeah, this
Okay.
exact same store in New York, where it's never established that why they would meet at the exact same time.
Sure.
Not
The same store
That
convenient
would
nearby.
is
I
two
would
employees working at the same location at the same time, taking the same elevator just to reach different floors. That's the only separation point here.
I that would definitely I don't I'm not doing it in absolutes where it's like it is convenient, it's not convenient. That would definitely be way worse in terms of convenience. I think this is still really convenient in terms of just
Then
like
I think we're gonna
like
go
the
to the same thing where
just
of that
subjective.
point in
With Uncle
TESM one.
Ben.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think
It's
again with
similar.
conveniences, right? Yeah, I contrivances and inferences are things that are very subjective. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it's just like you think it's convenient, whereas we think it flows naturally with what's established. I guess it's just very subjective at this point.
Sure.
All right.
I'm fine with that.
I'm gonna need to go now, though. I
Okay.
need to get
Well,
this
well,
thing done.
thank you, Marcus,
Yeah.
for
You gonna stick around,
participating.
Thought?
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks for
I probably have about 15 or 20 more minutes.
Okay, okay. I'll wrap it up here soon. Thanks, Marcus.
yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, yeah.
Take
Always
care,
fun
bro,
to talk
bro.
about these films.
Was very
Yeah.
fun.
Hell yeah.
All right. Goodbye.
See ya. Okay. Um Roosevelt. I
Ooh, fun.
how did Ray Parker manage to build a hidden train car in the abandoned railway?
Richard Parker is the second most prestigious scientist at a $200 billion company. He definitely has the financial resources for it.
Sure, but he's
That would
trying to
be
keep it
number one.
hidden, right? So like nobody knows.
Well, yeah, it's an abandoned train station that's closed off from the general public. So number one, because it's closed off from the general public, not only is not a lot of people going to have knowledge of it,
Hmm.
but it's completely barred from public access. And then number
Right.
two, with Richard's financial incentives, that's like I don't see it as a problem at all. That's a place he's able to work.
So, okay, I might just be misunderstanding how this Roosevelt place works. This might be a really stupid question, but in in New York City railways, do train cars, is that normal for it to come out of the ground like that?
No, that's obviously something
Okay.
that was constructed.
Okay, I was thinking maybe for a second like maybe that was just a really cool engineering thing that it did back then. Okay.
No, 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 no. So that's like another thing. It's like, yeah, nobody would find it anyways. They'd have to know to go through the I don't know what it's called, the turnstile. They have to put that specific Roosevelt coin that only Richard Parker has
Hmm.
into that specific turnstile and then push through it the opposite way that you're supposed to. And that's how it opens it. So he definitely put a lot of just kind of puzzle-esque security measures.
Right. So, somebody had to have built that, right? Like a good team of people had to have built the whole mechanism for it to happen, right?
Yeah, potentially, but also we don't know the exact timeline of how long this place has existed. We know it's existed long enough for Richard to have done a substantial amount of research. And then because we know Richard is careful with what he does, he probably would only hire people that would sign like an NDA, which is pretty common for stuff like this. You know, when like SpaceX or Elon Musk
Yeah,
is
the
building
NDAs.
something secretive, like they'll do that so that um, competing companies like Deep Blue don't know.
So, I guess my one issue with it is that it's kind of going back to TASM 1. Um, kind of covering that up uh through Oscorp would be hard. I guess the NDAs would help significantly. I guess I don't really know where Oscorp would start to
Well,
try to
that's the
find
whole
all that
point. It's
stuff
like
out.
how would Oscorp even know
Right. Yeah, that's
from the very beginning? He's building it in secret. The people who he hired to build it have to keep it secret, and nothing gets in or out except for him. Plus, he's building it in a place where Oscorp can look for new businesses that are founded
hmm
within the public eye, but he's specifically keeping this literally off of the grid.
right.
So, yeah.
I might go back a little bit on that one question from earlier that might be able to get into here without people following him, but I don't know if that's really that good. Like argument to make.
Oh, Richard, dude. We know Oscorp's on his tail. And then also,
Yeah,
he has to get on foot to be able to get in there,
yeah,
and it's quite a process to open the train anyways.
yeah. And there's all that debris, right? So there's really
Yep,
nothing
there's the
else
debris, and then
to
he has to
go.
crawl under that thing, which he would have to, get his wife and small
Right,
child to do,
right.
and then also deal with the subway security, which is down there walking, which could potentially be more witnesses. So,
Oh, I didn't think about that.
yeah,
Totally forgot about those guys.
it's almost like the film is covering its bases. Mhm.
Little itsy bitsy spider songs, kind of silly.
I think it's in character for Electro. I think it's fun. I think it's one of
I
those
think it's
moments
fun.
where the film
It's
is
definitely fun.
being goofy without, sacrificing characters.
I would definitely make Electro a little more witty in order for that to be in character with him, because it doesn't seem like he would be
Oh, dude,
concerned with that.
Electro is very witty and quotable in this film.
Is he witty? I don't. Oh
Oh yeah,
yeah.
he
Okay.
totally
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. That
It's
I'm
my
just
birthday.
remembering. It's
Now
my
it's time for
birthday.
me to light my candle.
Yeah. That was. I'm gonna be honest with you. I physically cringed at that. I couldn't handle that.
It's so goofy and I love it.
um. Oh. Okay. I'm glad I thought about this one. Peter has. Um. I think this is gonna be my last point. Peter
Okay.
has the blood within him to be able to cure Harry.
Nope.
Solve.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
So the blood won't cure Harry. And we know this because the elements within Peter
Hmm.
that trigger the self-healing only work because the blood is compatible with him.
Right. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
if
That's
he gives that blood to Harry, the same thing is going to happen as if you just give the venom straight up.
right. Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. Like. Well, I guess you didn't let me finish then.
Okay.
Instead of he reasonably is like, I'm not gonna give you the blood like straight up. It's not gonna be compatible. Um. Instead, he's more thinking of a different way rather than trying to use the blood to do further research on it in order to help Harry. Uh.
So, Harry said Peter said he wants to help Harry. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, blood tests like that take a really, really long time to get right, to make sure that they even can be compatible, especially with mutated blood like that.
Mhm.
Secondly, if Harry has that blood, what do you think Oscorp is going to do with it? Oh no.
Well, I mean, they
uh,
already have the venom of the
no, no, no,
spiders.
no. I'm saying now they have Peter's DNA, and now they know what Richard has done, and now they're going to go after Peter. And
How,
that
how
puts Peter and Mary, and Aunt May and Gwen in danger. And then third of all,
you're talking about like how the blood is mixed with the spider, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
uh-huh.
how would having Peter's blood, um, like how would that inform Oscorp that you need to have Peter's blood mixed with the spider in order for it to work?
No, sorry. I'm saying if they scan that blood and they see that the DNA is the same, they're gonna know that Spider-Man is of the Parker line.
Right, but they don't know that you need to have a Parker blood to mix with the spider blood. Or-
This would be the key to prove that though.
How do you so like? Well, let me clarify in case we're not on the same page. Um,
No, I get what you're saying. I'm
okay.
saying, based on the situation right now,
Uh-huh.
given what Peter knows and given Oscorp's characteristic, um, they have to do tests on the blood to make sure it can work. Period. Peter was open to that possibility
Mm-hmm.
from a preliminary level, but Harry wasn't. Harry wanted it immediately because the longer he waits, the more motor function he loses. Yeah, it's gonna take years for like him to be bedridden, but he's already basically at the equivalent of Parkinson's in the film.
Right.
Um, like as we see near the end. So he wants something immediate. And so it's not necessarily that the blood is a terrible idea if they give the time, the years potentially it would take to see if it even is compatible or to do those tests. But the people doing those tests would be Oscorp. And once they like, there's also a lot of legal precautions that go into this. It would essentially have to be a back alley deal with Spider-Man and Harry to do this, but because he's so like he has eyes on him all the time, Oscorp would probably use that opportunity, seize that opportunity to unmask and kill Spider-Man probably, or kidnap him at least, so they can, harvest his body for research.
Mm-hmm.
So really it's just down to Harry being impatient. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, that and I can agree with you on that. And I think I guess it's not really out of character for Harry to be like that. I just think it's really stupid, annoying. Um, I guess
Okay,
there's
so
really
put
no good
yourself in Harry's
criticism.
shoes.
Yeah, there's really no good
Let's say
criticism for him.
let's say that you are rapidly losing motor functions from a degenerative disease. Now, a degenerative disease means you can stop the disease from progressing, but you can't take away what it's already taken away.
Mm-hmm.
So Harry can heal this disease, but he will still essentially have the Parkinson's for the rest of his life. By the end of this film, he cannot even hold a gun straight. Like, even just holding the gun up, his arm is shuddering.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, he wants to break free from the Oscorp name. He doesn't even want the company. He actually, uh, he kind of pokes fun at the idea of him running the company in the first scene of him with the lawyers. And so, uh, at this point in Harry's life, the one thing that he wants more than anything else is freedom, and the one thing that's stopping him from having that freedom in this moment is this impenetrable disease that's connected to his dad. I mean, it's like it's called the Osborne curse.
Right.
So it makes perfect sense for him to be very impatient about doing this because the longer he waits, the more motor function he's going to lose. And then essentially, even if it's a few years down the line, he could be, completely stuck where he is, which is, what he doesn't want to be. Plus, he's younger, he's more impulsive at this point. I can see it coming across as annoying, but I think when it comes to films like this, we have to ask uh
If
but
a
is it in
character is
character?
in character, yeah, sure. I guess
And
there's really
would you
not
say it's
enough
in
to
character?
there's really not enough establishment of the character to say it's out of character. Is what I
Sure.
would say.
But do you think there's enough established to say that it's in character?
Sure. Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's
So
fine.
it's then you'd say it's a non-issue?
Yeah, I guess I would not say it's an issue.
Okay.
It's annoying to me, I guess.
And that was the last thing you
I
had?
think that was the last big point. Oh,
All right.
oh wait,
Okay.
one last one. The
Gotcha.
his tooth gap. That's fucking insane. That was silly and
Shut the
bad.
hell.
And I think the movie's bad. Probably 0 now after all
Oh
this talking.
man. Well, after this, are you still at a 2?
Um, I would have to rewatch the movies with the different context because it's definitely you guys definitely reshaped what the movie looked like for me with your inferences. Um, I would at the very least say it's an average 5. So
Okay.
to be safe.
I can concede to that. Would you say that it's a lot better than maybe you gave it credit for?
Yes. Yeah. Well, a lot better well, would it be a lot better?
Because 2 is really bad, but
Oh yeah.
every single criticism that you brought up, we were able to take down except for the one that we agreed on,
Mhm.
which was the greats being weaker than they should be.
Yeah, the greats is actually the greats brought it down to a 3. No,
Oh
I'm
my
just joking. I'm
gosh.
joking. Um, I think I might say at the very least for TASM 2 it's a 6, mainly because I really like the whole Gwen aspect.
Okay.
That
Well,
payoff really.
I'd just say rewatch the film with the inferences, and
Yeah.
then let me know how you feel, because you'll probably see it in a completely different way now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Well, thank you
I
for the very civil debate, my friend.
yeah, thank you for coming on and you know, talking with me. It's a pleasure.
Totally. All right.
All
Good
right.
stuff, dude. Well, I'm gonna take off now. It was good stuff. Good times.
Yeah, good stuff, dude.
All
You
right.
have a
Take
good
care,
one.
man.
Take care.
Bye.
I lost. No. No. Damn, that was pretty good. I really did not expect that much defenses. Oh shoot, I forgot about the part where the lizard is like holding Peter's hand at the very end of the movie, and then Captain Stacy shoots the liquid nitrogen, and then somehow Peter's able to get his hand out, and that kind of saves his life. Shoot, forgot about that one. That was kind of like that part kind of reminded me of like Ray losing his, or Ray facing that one dude who loses his knife, and just kind of editing mistake kind of actually saves her life. Um, excuse me. That was fun. I think that was my first debate I've had just through voice chat on this kind of stuff. I definitely concede. Pretty much every point of mine was very well shot down. I guess there's some of the subjective ones is the with the inferences is those are the ones that are kind of more shaky. And I'd probably take a more harsh stance on that, but overall they did a really really good job at defending this film. Oh my god, this is a masterpiece. What the fuck? my mind, it's the chemicals are changing. I'm not crying. I'm just a little sick. Okay. All right. Cool. I'm going to end it there. Thanks for those who are watching. I'm going to upload this to the SandCast stream or on YouTube. But yeah. That is all. Farewell. Goodbye. Have fun. Stay safe. Wear a condom. I don't know.